I would probably start with the budget message if we could.
You gotta call the meeting to order first.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, okay, okay.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here for our budget meetings today. I'll call the special meeting of May 20th to order. And we'll start with the airport.
Thank you. Robert Dale, Sheridan County Airport Manager. I think it looked like you had a PDF there that was above that. It should be it. Yep.
Cancellation. It's got a black.
Yep, looks good. So there should be a couple documents there in the airport. There's a budget message.
Yeah.
I see, Mary. I can see good.
There should be a budget message, and then also with the airport, we have both the admin and operations budget along with the capital improvement budget. Total combined budgets for the airport this year is $12,325,254. In total, I'm proposing a request of $312,000 from the county's general fund. This is compared to last year's report of $261,000. It's approximately a 19% increase. And I'll touch on those where those increases are at once we get to the admin and operations budget. Total admin and operations budget is $1,743,000. We carried a cash reserve of $125,000 just for the operations throughout the month. Last year's was just a little over $1.6 million. So this is approximately a 4.8% increase over last year's. Unencumbered cash balance that we'll be carrying over $285,000. A lot of this was due to the white winter and being understaffed. Estimated revenues of 1.1 million, a little over 1.1 million as compared to last year's. Pretty similar. There's a 2.6% increase. Had a couple of projects I had in there last year that might have been a little preemptive. One of them would have been the Mayflower project. We were in negotiations there. They pulled out kind of last minute. So that affected it. Got a couple of other projects that look promising this year, but they're not showing in here just after seeing that happen last year. So, the proposed capital improvement budget is a little over 10.5 million. As compared to last year's, it was a little over 10.8. A lot of this is the realignment of Alpha project. That project got started late. We did make some progress through it this fiscal year, and then of course got a couple additional projects that I'll touch on as well. Cash balance in the on the capital side, 282,000 as compared to last year's 337,000. Airport still has a reserve fund of $3 million. We also have a revenue bond repayment reserve fund of $271,000. Kind of just an overview here on the capital side. A couple of handful of main projects we have going on. Of course, the realignment of taxiway Alpha. And this is the estimated remaining amount that we will have in this next fiscal year. We have the acquire loader project. We have the acquire the ARF vehicle, the fire truck, expand DA aprons, and expand long-term parking. It's always kind of hard to predict how these federal projects go, but I do see all these wrapping up this next fiscal year, other than the fire truck. It's included in here. I don't know when we'll have that project finalized, but could potentially be this next fiscal year. And just a couple other small projects that are broken out further in the capital budget. So final page there of the budget message, you can kind of see a snapshot of the admin and operations budget. Like I said, admin and operations right about 1.7 million with the request of 312,000 from the county general fund. And then on the capital side, about a little over 10.5 million on those major capital projects. That kind of covers the budget message there. There's not any questions. I can take a little bit of a deeper dive in each budget. Probably easiest to start with the capital. As I mentioned, there's only a couple of items here. On that first page, the one I would point out, line B, that's the bond repayment that we have. There were revenue bonds taken out in 2015. This was for construction of hangars in our field farm. We do have restricted funds there for the repayment of that. It's income off the hangars and then PFC revenues. PFCs are passenger facility charges. Those are restricted how we use them. We have to apply how we use them. Ours are being done as a reimbursement on past projects. So in that case, we can use them in this sense for this repayment. One thing I'd like to point out, we have a bond payment in September, and then the following one after that will be our final. At that point, the hangar incomes and the PFC reimbursements can then go in the operations budget. So pretty good to see. They're just combined under $300,000. And that payment is about $211,000 this year. And then it kind of shows the breakdown totals of the FAA grant funds, state grant funds, and then the final requirement there. We do have the request for the 1 cent sales tax or the GPET fundings to help with that local match with the amount of federal projects that we have going on. We can hop on to the next page there. Here's a breakdown of the estimated revenues for each of these projects. One item I probably should not have included on there is the replaced SRE that actually finalized in that payment was in the previous year before 25, 26. Just kind of breakdown of the revenues there on those grants for each project. I would say once we get to page 4 and page 5, those breakdowns are a little clearer on how those projects are laid out. So next page is the estimated expenses for those projects. What we've completed so far this year, and then what will be shown, the final amounts for next year. If we hop on to page 4, this gives us the project breakdowns. So all these are federal projects. FAA is covering 95% of them. States covering 2.5%. We've made quite a bit of progress, like I said, in the realignment of taxiway alpha. So that's the estimated remaining amount for this next fiscal year. Same thing with the ramp expansion. We do have some of those expenses already taking place this year. Expand long-term parking lot, looking at commencing construction actually next week. That's slated to be a 50-day project. So we should have it finalized just at the start of this next fiscal year. Next page here is just some couple local projects. Don't have as near as many this year, just with the amount of local matching we have on all those federal projects. Looking at it, getting a flatbed skid sprayer for one of our flatbed trucks. We have to do a lot of sterilizing on the airfield. We have over 600 lights and signs that we sterilize around and mow down around just to keep them from being obscured. The skid sprayer we have now has been rebuilt many times, and it's just time to replace it. Also, RTV weed sprayer. Looking at getting some new vending machines and upping what we offer in the terminal building there. Also, I have on here local project of tank farm cleaning and inspection. Our field farm is 20 years old. we do open them up at least yearly to inspect inside the tanks. We've noticed a couple spotting. So we need to go ahead and get moving forward on taking a look at the interior of those tanks. Did a couple building projects as well, uploading the fire alarm system in the terminal building and some more seating and benching for the terminal building. Final page shows the airport reserve fund. We have made a transfer since this budget was completed. That reserve account is sitting with the 3 million even. The rest, the interest that was earned is shown in the operating account and in the operating budget. That's all I have on the capital side, unless there's any questions there.
Yeah, question, guys.
Robert, just running back to page 5. On the vending machines. I was under the impression that those vending machines were run through a third party. Is that not so?
So currently it's more of just a service to the public. Those machines are owned by the airport and we're letting somebody else operate it out without an agreement and they're taking what they make. So it's mostly just there for the customers. I would like to go ahead and sell those machines and purchase new ones and work out a formal agreement where the airport's getting a return on the gross that's being made on those, whether we charge somebody. We give them access to the machines and we get a 30% return on whatever they're making. That way we can recoup those costs. So it gives much better selection. So we've got a lot of traffic moving through there. And I think it could even be a little money maker, but
Something
something
have coffee.
we can look at coffee.
I was just gonna bring that up. That's the number one thing. If you're gonna do it, you need to have coffee. It's 5 a.m. flights. Yeah, need a cup of coffee.
Even if it's bad coffee.
Yeah, that's right. Bad coffee is better than
You
good
heard it.
coffee. Yeah, yeah.
We'll definitely take a look. Moving on to the admin and operations budget, not too many major curveballs here. Cash and investment carryover, like I said, it's quite a bit higher. Our expenses this year were quite a bit lower. Two main reasons, the light winter, our fuel usage, the consumables on our snow removal equipment, all those items hardly touched. And then we did pay out quite a bit of overtime. We still have the flight coverage. We have to do the aircraft rescue firefighting. So we had quite a bit of overtime costs, but then overall the insurance coverages on the airport's part, those pieces were much lower with being lower staffed. Total requirement, just a little over $1.7 million. Anticipate 1.1 million in revenue. But we have the additional cash carryover, so I requested $312,000. Next page, as I mentioned, the projected expense, where I think we'll end up being is quite a bit lower than what we budgeted due to the staffing, operation side due to the winter. Got the breakdowns on further pages as far as where this request. Page 3 is a breakdown of all of our revenues. No major changes outlined on this page. One thing our revenues that I had outlined within 1%. We did have a couple of line items that are significantly lower. I'll point out the commercial park. Some of the reason those revenues were much lower, the building number 5 conversion that FedEx was in, that timeline took quite a bit longer than I anticipated. We have a holdover tenant in the business park that I'm not getting any revenues on that I had outlined. And then I mentioned there was one project I included that we were in the negotiation phase of an agreement and that didn't get finalized. Outside of that, revenue wise, I don't see any major changes on that page. Of course, we've got the projects I've mentioned that we've been looking at, cell tower project and some others that aren't showing here just because we haven't gotten to the agreement part yet. Next page on the expenses. As I mentioned, salaries, pretty close to projected because the amount of overtime that's paid out. Luckily, we didn't have a busy winter. It probably would have been significantly higher, the amount of overtime, just because the gaps in coverage we had with the number of open positions. But then however, health insurance ended up being significantly lower. Once again, further pages here, I have the request breakdown a little bit further, but even on the health insurance side, we've gone ahead and calculated the increases that were mentioned. So that's already all calculated in here already. Going on to page 5, the operation breakdown expenses. I don't have too many major changes other than the airfield repair, runway and ramp repair and maintenance. We had a lighting project in 2019. We've got a lot of new items on the airfield. However, on our main runway, runway's not LED, it's incandescent bulbs. We're starting to see a lot more failures. We're replacing more often. However, LEDs are kind of taking over, so those bulbs have gotten a lot more expensive. So just seen a little bit of a jump in that item. A couple other increases that I've thrown in there are for operations and training with looking at replacing the fire truck. The foam is not federally fundable, so we'll have to pay for that as well too. Outside of that, on the expense side, there are not too many other changes. Page 6 shows some additional revenue landing fees that we're able to charge to recoup our costs. No major changes there. SkyWest did negotiate out a higher lease rate on the terminal building, so that's reflected in there. Only other one I would note on this page is the ROCO building. I did receive notice on that building as well too, so that tenant will be leasing. So probably be going out for proposals and see what we can get for that too. But I would anticipate a higher rate on that. Outside of that, no major changes. Breakdown of the commercial park on page 7. No major changes to note there. You can see varying rates or timelines there. It's just due to the increases based on the WCLI. Most of our agreements have that spelled out every 2 years. So that's all broken out and projected. One I will note, rental cars this year, you can see that those revenues being higher now that I've gotten a couple months further into this year, as far as the commissions that they pay out to us. So their agreement calls for a commission payment based on their business there. Another major changes on page 7. Page 8, the salaries page, I've got that broken out on the last page. No other major changes on any of those items other than the health insurance. I've got that increase already broke out into that. So that's already there. Page 9, most of these items kind of covered on page 3. Don't anticipate many increases on this page. Insurance, the insurance portion, I've spoke with Cameron and got those increases built in as well. Page 10 did put a little increase on it's BOCC Part 139, the software we use for inspections on the airfield. That increase, that cost of that software has gone up a little bit over the last couple of years. Page 11, no major increases there other than the runway and ramp repair and maintenance that I mentioned. These are just breakdowns on all these line items where these costs are coming from. Other than that, no major changes there over last year's budget. And same thing with page 12, other than the ARP operations. Final page 13. I do have a couple changes on this page. It would be the step and grade of the operations technicians or the maintenance technicians. I feel like I've had vacancies for quite some time. It's been a significant challenge getting people hired. I've lost good employees due to wages. I constantly hear how expensive Sheridan is. I'm sure everybody else hears the exact same thing. But when I'm trying to hire aircraft rescue firefighters, it's discouraging to lose somebody to Mr. R salvage yard or some of the areas that I have lost. These guys go through a lot of training. It takes multiple years for them to be proficient and comfortable, and for me to be comfortable with them. And the work that they're doing is critical. I would even point out 6 weeks ago, we had a snow event where all the roads around Sheridan closed down. We had heavy snow. Everything was shut down. But it's critical we keep the airport, the access to our community. We had 3 life flights go out that day. Can't stress enough how critical the work that these guys are doing and what it is and what it means to our community. It was critical that day. They've got to be trained. They've got to be comfortable with what they're doing on keeping the airport open, not only keeping everybody's landing and taking off safe, but as I mentioned, even those life flights that day and what that meant.
And this, did you say there were going to be changes or you've got it incorporated?
It's incorporated into this. So you can see on 26, 27, there's
Yep.
a handful of grade 17s. Those are moving those employees from a 15 to a 17, which does include some, I've got 1 vacant position now that I'm still trying to hire. Even have some pretty good applicants apply from out of state that would have been absolutely great to get in here, offered the position. And as soon as they look in Sheridan, they're just like, no, can't come here. It's too expensive. So just bringing those up so I have consistent, reliable help is critical. Outside of that, that's all I have, unless there's any other questions for me.
Any questions for Robert?
No, Robert, I would just comment that, and I've said this in the past, I mean, we know that we're losing people there because we're not paying a competitive wage for the job that they do. We know that, we understand that. And at this point, probably the same way we've done all the other budgets so far, and we're gonna deal with the salaries separately than your regular budget, most likely, because that's the way we've been doing all of them so that we can look at salaries in the end. But we certainly know that for the training they have to have and the job they have to do, that we're not being competitive in the market. And that's why we're losing people. I mean, pretty obvious.
2 vacancies is a big deal. We've only got 6
Yeah.
other employees.
Yeah.
Well, and so
And maybe not all of those can do.
last year I was at a point, I had 9 employees on the operations side and had a position frozen. And then I hit a point this year where I only have 4 trained guys.
Yeah.
So then we're a little unique here where that was my background. So I'm able to dive in and help out as airport managers, plow snow and still do the firefighting coverage as well too. But you know, you definitely can hit a point with that place being open 24 hours where once the bleeding starts, everybody gets burnt out.
Well, that's the hard thing about our flights too.
Yeah,
The
they're
timing of them. I mean, it's, 4 a.m. till, well, earlier than that, if there's snow, but, at 10:30 at night.
Yep. And so with those timeframes, then you consider weather events and delays, we turn into a 24-hour operation. It's just not possible. to
Because
keep
other
up with.
people land in the middle of the night anyway, besides just commercial
Yeah,
flights.
yeah.
So, no, we certainly understand that. But like I say, we're gonna deal with all those salaries in a separate situation.
In 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next budget meetings are June 2nd and 3rd. So,
I do have.
Yeah.
Chair.
Commissioner Hardy.
I noticed in, this is on page 3, Draft County Airport Fund, it's the agriculture.
Yep.
It's projected 55,576. But you put a low estimate of 46,000.
Yes, that's great. I actually meant to point that out. That's due to some of the projects that are going on right now. We've got staging areas, storage areas. So we lost quite a bit of acreage this year due to the staging areas. That's the spoil materials from projects.
I knew that, I just wanted you to.
Okay, appreciate that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We can pass.
Is this, yeah, it's just,
If you wanted to, and then, or we could just do it all next, in 2 weeks. It's a little different budget. I
Yeah,
don't care.
I'm fine with waiting 2 weeks.
that's fine.
I don't guess it makes any difference. Yeah.
Fine, we-
Yes.
that's-
Yeah. Oh, it's the very last
Wait,
one. Very last.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Sharon County Supervisor. I'm here with
I'm Jim Gibbs, the board chairman, and I appreciate your time and your consideration of our budget today. Thank you.
Okay, so just to go through our budget, I guess I won't get too deep into the details unless you guys would want me to. I'd be happy to expand on anything. Just let me know, but our budget, like normal, we will be requesting 2 mills. So one of those mills operates our general program. The other mill operates our special management program. Out of the general mill, we send a portion of that to the city of Sheridan to run their weed and pest management program. So in the end, that winds up being between 40 and 45% of our general mill goes to the city. We retain the second half of the general mill, and then we also have the special management mill that we use to run our leafy spurge and salt cedar programs. No major changes to any lines in our budget this year, other than last year we had some abnormally high numbers for our invasive annual grass program because of the elk fire. And we also, so we received a lot of grants from the state and the feds after that fire. And in anticipation of increased herbicide prices over the life of those grants, we ended up just front loading a bunch of herbicide purchases with those grant funds. So our budget was pretty inflated last year to pay for some of those big purchases. And now it's just normalizing. So our programs will be carried out, the same as they usually are, same as they should be. We will continue to have contracts with Forest Service to work on the elk fire. We have a lot of contracts with the state to work on a bunch of different emergent issues in the weed world. In terms of our administrative expenditures, a slight increase from last year. So a few months into this current fiscal year, we hired a new assistant supervisor. She had been on as an intern for a while with us, and we just brought her on full time last September. So the administrative budget has increased slightly to accommodate that. Another note I would make also is that we were operating with quite a bit of cash carryover these last couple of years. When the old supervisor was going out and the new supervisor, myself, was coming in, some expenditures were lower on some large projects, so we were carrying over more and more cash. But in the last year or two, we've increased a lot of our operations to use up some of that cash, and so now that carryover cash has pretty much been expended. Some of our operations are going to have to shrink a little bit to account for not having that carryover cash anymore. You'll also notice in a lot of our expenditure lines here that there's a lot of specific expenditure lines where we had funds in there in 25-26, but not in 26-27. That is because I've simplified the state budget spreadsheet, and I mentioned it to the commissioners last time I was here for a staff meeting. We simplified our state budget spreadsheet, and we're doing more detailed budget tracking in a separate spreadsheet, and that is being tracked at the program level. So we have, the 20 some odd programs that we run. We didn't think that this spreadsheet made sense to track, different types of expenditures, different types of revenues at the program level. So we just made our own spreadsheet that tracks that stuff in a lot of detail, which means that we can kind of simplify this. So instead of having, supply lines for individual programs here, We just have a supply line. And the different budgets for the individual projects are captured in a separate spreadsheet. And if you guys ever want it, I'd be happy to share that with you guys. That is pretty much all that I have. We will continue to build our emergency savings account and our reserve accounts. Our emergency savings account, I really think of as our grasshopper fund. That's really historically when we've used the emergency savings. And then our reserve accounts, we did have some reserve expenditures to redo our roof this past year. Then we may have some reserve expenditures in the near future to replace some older vehicles. But that's about it. If anyone has any questions, or if you would like me to get into any more detail on anything.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Can you just expand a little bit on the revenue line item S11? The other county support not from the county treasurer, the 240,000, can you just explain that to the commissioners?
Yes, so we receive $120,000 from the county, and my understanding is that that comes from license plate fees. But frankly, I'm not too sure. I haven't asked too many questions. It's not mill funds, but I think it comes through as auto license fees. But maybe Cameron or Ida could.
Yeah, Madam Chair. The reason I'm asking is it isn't listed in any of our others, and so I just wanted it to be clear to you that it's not GPET, it's not general fund requests. These are coming from the treasurer's side.
Any questions?
Madam Chair, yeah, not a question. I do want to appreciate that. 'Cause that was one of my questions that I had. I just, next year, and I know I've asked this every year so far, but is there any way that we can make it to where things are not blacked out like this? It is really, really hard to read those numbers.
Oh, yeah, so sorry, the one column to the left of that is what we're proposing, so that's what you guys should be looking at.
Okay,
Yeah, so the column all the way on the right that's blacked out, that
Ignore
it's
that.
an art, yeah, just ignore it. It's an artifact of the state's budget spreadsheet.
got it.
Special
Thank you.
districts.
Hopefully I'll remember that next time.
Maybe I'll remember to mention it. So yes, the 26-27 proposed column, that's what we should, that's what.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions? If there aren't any, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I move to approve the budget for weed and pest as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Kimber. Good morning. Please welcome to sit here too. I'm threatened. No, this is awesome. This is awesome. All right.
Numbers, right? Kimber Solberg, Fairgrounds Director. Today, the Sheridan County Fair Association is respectfully submitting the requested budget for 26-27 fiscal year. Joining me today to contribute to the discussion and answer any questions are members of the Sheridan County Fair Association Board of Trustees. Brittany Gorzalka to my right, Kelly Bridges to my left, Jason Coltisco right behind me, and Patrick Hayworth. I think it's interesting how every budget presentation is just a little bit different. This is great nuance. So I will kind of go through my spiel. The Fair Board remains committed to fiscal responsibility and prudent stewardship of taxpayer dollars. This is done by making thoughtful, long-term investments in this important county asset. The fairgrounds is far more than an event venue. It's a year-round community facility that supports agriculture, youth development, tourism, heritage preservation, economic activity, and local commerce in Sheridan County. This last year, we had approximately 190 scheduled events at the fairgrounds. The requested funding represents a fiscal investment into a facility that is actively used, carefully maintained, and continually delivers value to the public. Through phased improvements, strategic maintenance, and volunteer partnerships, the fairgrounds has undergone visible improvements, expanded event usage, and increased community impact in recent years. In addition to the operational funding, the Sheridan County Fair Association respectfully requests serious consideration of the capital outlay requests. As advised by the county administrator, these are listed separately. While operational funding allows the fairgrounds to serve the public daily, capital improvements are essential to ensuring the long-term safety, efficiency, preservation, and growth of this county property. These projects are strategic investments intended to protect and improve long-term county assets while supporting increased usage and future opportunities. Recently, the approved GPET funding request will assist with the installation of the uninterrupted power system at the grandstands, as well as possibly the ADA seating expansion and or the Eaton Barn improvements. The fairgrounds is one of the county's most visible and heavily utilized assets, generating year-round economic impact. Every event produced at the fairgrounds supports local businesses, and every improvement is to pay dividends back to our community. My opinion, the fairgrounds has never looked better, and with continued support, it will remain one of Sheridan County's strongest and most valuable long-term investments for years to come. You guys kind of hear that every time I have an opportunity to speak with you. So this year for the budget request, and I try to put a lot in the narrative pages, so hopefully that helps. So I took the requested general fund request back to the 640,000 that was originally requested at last year's budget, but then was reduced back. The GPET funding list shown there in yellow on the narrative pages, that number, I went with what was prior approved. However, the GPET funding that was approved for the fairgrounds was 130,000, not 100,000. If we look at the next, kind of, I'm gonna say status quo. I would like you to look at under, gosh, I guess I should have done line items. The electronic sign advertising, I know that was kind of a question that some of the folks had. That has produced some revenue for the fairgrounds. We have a long-term, I'll say sponsorship with Range. And so they rent that space from us for every year. So that's contributed to some investment pieces as we expected that it would. The numbers for the payroll and health insurance and that were provided through the county administrator and included there. One of the bigger ticket items you'll notice on pages, is page 4 or 5 of the narrative, is the Red Cross backup generator that was installed in cooperation with emergency protect. What's his name? Emergency. Jesse's
Yeah.
position. Great addition to the fairgrounds, but that unit has added to our expenses in a little bit more significant than we had anticipated. But because it's on the fairgrounds, I was requested to put it into our budget.
Okay.
So I did include $4,500 in anticipated repairs, just based on what the repairs would have cost us this year had it not still been under warranty.
Okay.
And then the one up above for 500 is the additional for the utilities. Again, as the county administrator requested, we put the capital outlay expenses on a separate sheet. And I strategically different projects than the GPET fundings. Just so I'm aware of that. And those numbers on that page are not included in the budget.
Kimber, any changes with salaries for staffing? Or how are you doing with staffing?
We're doing very well with staffing. We have filled our 2 seasonal positions already this year. And we have a really great crew of the full-time. We have 3 full-time. One is the facilities manager and then 2 maintenance techs work directly under him. So we have a really good and qualified staff with probably more expertise in various areas than we're very fortunate to have the expertise.
Yeah.
In this kind of paragraph.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions on the budget for Kimber? Mr. Jennings?
Yeah, Madam Chair. I had two questions.
Sure.
The first of which is going back to the first line, request of 640,
Mhm.
and then the GPET of 100,000, which got 130.
Correct.
Does that mean that so instead of requesting, if you get 130, and then you add on the 640, of course, 740.
Right.
If you got 130 in the GPET, does that mean it's possible to decrease the 640 by that additional 30 to bring it to 610?
I would love to say yes, but I'm going to push back and say no, because the DPEP funding, were for specific capital outlay projects. And this money would be designated for,
Operations. Okay,
yes,
then I'll go to my second question, which is under vehicles. We've got 15,000, and I just wanted to get an idea of, because you got multiple things in here. For a side-by-side or 12 cart, snow blower and upgrades. What are you thinking of for the cost of that? How much of that are you thinking of for the side-by-side or golf cart?
though we recently had a opportunity come to us, and the side by side, they're running about $20,000. But based on some, I'll say some carryover from this year, if the board decides that that's the way we we'll be able to purchase that. One of the more immediate requests by the crew who is out there working hard on the grounds every day is the snow blower component for the vehicles, so where they're not just out there, I'll say, heat of it pushing, but it would actually attach to a vehicle use. So that's more of as I get a request from the folks who are actually on the ground every day working, then take it to the board and get their input on that.
So, just my thinking, obviously, there's a lot of vehicles out there, and
Yep.
the addition of an additional side-by-side, I don't know if that's necessary.
We're actually, just, sorry to interrupt, we're actually short one side by side this year with the full staff for the seasonal crew right now. So we do have one of the crew members who's actually utilizing one of the pickups instead of a side by side. So that, the economic piece of it, you may save on that, but your expenditures on the other area.
But you're only using this vehicle in the fairgrounds, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So in that cost, because obviously if we need a snow blower, we need a snow blower. What's in that 15,000, how much are you assuming out of that for a snow blower?
Right at $5,000.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
What is the snow blower attached to?
It attaches to the
Tractor?
Skid steer, right?
skid steer, the track skid steer that we lease right now through C&B equipment.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I guess I would, as the liaison to the fairgrounds, I would add that I think they're doing a great job. I know that they are also going to be coming forward with a request for some funding to erect their new building out of hopefully out of our economic development funds at some point. I just want to put that out there, but what they need to maintain the fairgrounds is here in this budget. But certainly that in terms of economic development for our community is going to be a big push too in the future.
Thank you.
Okay.
Kimber, am I looking at the PR tab correctly that you've got the 2.5? It says after 2.5%, and I don't see that on all the PR tabs. Is that the COLA that you added?
That was,
Or-
I'll let Cameron speak to that.
Madam Chair, I gave her numbers as to what it should be. I wasn't aware we were putting it in. I said there was a possibility of 2.5 or 5, but I wasn't aware yet we actually put it in. So I'm drawing a blank on this one.
And
So this would include it, but I didn't think we were going to. So let's put it this
Okay.
way, if approve a 2.5, you're not gonna change anything to the
Right.
fair. If you approve a 5, you're gonna up it.
Yeah.
The other way to do it is you can reduce this by 2.5 and then
Right.
submit it again, so you can see accurate numbers.
I noticed it wasn't in all of our PR pages, so I wasn't sure. And we won't do salaries today anyway, we're kind of pushing those off till our last meetings just to see
I
where.
guess we're all hopeful.
Yeah, Commissioner
June.
Kimber, I see you've got $14,000 on equipment rental. And your note over here saying something that odds are additional rental would be forfeited. That change your light bulb?
Yes, we have to rent one of the bigger lifts because of the light bulb height in the arena.
What's in that?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
You weigh in on that?
It's probably 60.
50, 60?
Yeah, probably 60 foot.
So
Zane told me the other night, I believe that it was, he thought it was 60.
yes, so we do on occasion rent lifts for those types of things for the inside the arena, as well as lights that are like underneath the grandstands, at heights that we can't safely navigate.
Okay.
Within the shop, when we did light bulb replacements in there, we had to rent a lift to reach those lights as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You're like, while you're here, I'd love to just chat about some of the capital stuff, if that's okay. But I didn't know if we're gonna take some action on the rest of the fairgrounds budget beyond salaries and benefits. There. Yeah, Commissioner Jennings.
The increase, I'm willing to go along with that. I can't go for the side by side, just because to me, that's doubling up our efforts in a small area of having the vehicle. So I would like to decrease that line item to 5,000, make sure we get the snow blower. Actually, maybe to 7,500. It looks like you have upgrade gator. I don't know, I'm guessing that's some kind of equipment considerations. I guess I'll make that motion to decrease the vehicle line item 5842002 from 15,000 to 7,500.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is that a line item that I can take back to the board and have them make that adjustment? I mean, I don't know if the commission wants to make that change or.
Sure.
Yeah.
She's actually correct. It's usually, you're looking at the overall budget, you're looking at the general fund contribution, but individual line items should be sent back to their board
So I should go to the proposed budget, 640.
and reduce that.
To 630, however much math that is. Okay, let me amend my budget. Thank you for bringing that up. 7,500. I'm gonna make this hard on myself. So that's gonna make it 632,500. My math right? 632,500.
I don't hear a second.
Oh, second, sorry.
Any discussion?
Trying to figure out what you did. You're lowering the general fund ask.
Yeah, so for the line for the
Holly
vehicles,
doesn't get to tell them how to spend their money.
Yes.
She just gets to
Yeah, I
change what
agree.
they give.
Yeah.
so all I'm doing is I'm decreasing by that amount because of the 7.
You increased by how
I
much?
decreased by the 7,500 because based on what Kimber was saying, that leaves enough money for the golf cart, or I'm sorry, not the golf cart, but for the snow blower and upgrades to the gator.
Right? Um. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Capital. Oh, can we approve the rest of it?
Madam Chair,
Just that amount,
I
sorry.
move to approve the rest of it.
Okay.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I totally misunderstood the
Yeah,
motion.
that was, yeah, I don't know, I screwed that up.
That's okay.
I totally screwed that up. Because with that total, that took care of it. Yeah.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
No,
So
you're
we're good.
fine. We're moving on to capital.
Okay. Good, we need those too.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
so the original motion
included
of the
this out.
632, 500.
Yeah.
We're done.
We're done. Thank you. Is that clear as mud, Deb, Sherry? Okay, all right. Okay, next. Lori, yeah,
So
let us know about your capital projects.
Okay, so we previously have sent in capital outlay expenses separately from the budget because they're very large ticket items and that's just how I was instructed to do it.
Yep.
So we still have a few things that have been an ask for multiple years and we're just going to keep asking because we think that they're important to the fairgrounds. However, with the request that will come forward at a later time may be able to encapsulate some of those with regards to the permanent restroom facilities. As you know, the only permanent restroom facilities on the fairgrounds are in the exhibit hall and in the grandstands, which those restroom facilities are winterized. So they're only operational mid-May through before the first freeze. So there is a very limited amount of restroom facilities, which takes into account when we have other events at the fairgrounds, you're either renting a porta pot, if the shower trailer is available, or hoping that the folks who have rented the exhibit hall will let you run in and use their restroom. So it's not the best situation for the fairgrounds. Number 2 on the list is the main arena lighting. I've met with 2 different companies. The main arena lighting, as you know, is, I'm going to say, very old school. And so Musco Lighting, who did the lighting at the football stadium, coincidentally came across and said, hey, we just did theirs. We'd like to talk with you about yours. And as those of you who've been here for a number of years realize, the lighting in the arena is very antiquated. We're still making it work. But everything else on the fairgrounds that we've replaced or done lighting with have been upgraded to be LED lights. And therefore bringing that request to you as well. At some point, this one will become a very much needed necessity before I'd like to get them replaced before failure happens. The vendor pedestal electrical upgrades, those are the pedestals that sit behind the grandstands. And with the different vendors that come in for the events, like the circus that was here this last weekend, YO Rodeo, and several other events that happen, County Rodeo, those vendor pedestals are very underrated for the needs of what power needs to happen with power now. And that's true of the livestock barn electrical upgrade request as well. It's just the devices that our end users and our producers use are so much more than they were, I'll say, back in the day when the original was put in. One of the other big ticket items on here is the exhibit hall floor. I put in pictures because I think that speaks volumes. We had 140 events in the exhibit hall, and that's the floor this is presented to the public. We've got a couple different options. The one that makes the most sense, I talked with our paint expert, also a maintenance technician yesterday about this. And he said, yes, it can be painted again, but it won't cure the unevenness of the floor. And if we paint it again, there's a couple different approaches to it, but expect it to last about as long as the last paint process did. And therefore, that's why I'm recommending the epoxy floor solution. They would actually come in and scrub, but I don't know, make it tacky,
Yeah.
sand it down,
Okay.
draw out all the unevenness, relay the floor, and then put on the epoxy, the coating there. The gentleman with the companies that I've spoke with, the prices stayed the same, so that's why I haven't gone out for new bids. I've spoke with them on the phone and that. And then the ticket item at the bottom is the 75 by 200 building, which I'm sure will come up in the future. And Brittany Berzalka is the building committee lead, if you have any specific questions. If not, as Commissioner Silva said, that can be deferred into where we have a separate request as we get our ducks in a row, because we're still putting a lot of dots on i's and crosses on t's.
So Kimber, just, looking at the arrows there, if we get the building in, that takes care of the need for those permanent restrooms and potentially the electrical upgrades, if we can then use it for livestock.
Yeah, if the building comes back and it can be utilized for livestock, then that would be a component that can be taken care of within that. And then the permanent restroom facilities, having more and more adequate. One of the ideas is to be able to access those restroom facilities from whether you're inside the building or from an outside entrance as well. And it would be, I'm gonna say, all season, so it isn't like it's gonna be, they're not gonna be turned off in the winter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll chat about this later today, but since you were here, just thought you could run us through it and give us the details.
And I'm happy to either come back or stay if you need me to for that.
Okay,
Sure.
yeah.
I did have a couple of questions in line of what you were talking about with the livestock barn electrical upgrades.
Mhm.
Are you saying that with this new grain building, the cost to upgrade that livestock barn as well will be included in that cost? Or because we have a new building, we won't need the electrical upgrades for the livestock?
We may not need the electrical upgrades down at the current livestock barn because if they're incorporated into the new building.
So what will happen with that livestock barn? Because I'm gonna assume we're still gonna need to take care of that building as well.
With the growth, I know there's some questions on growth or non-growth of county fair and 4-H. I assume that they will still be utilized very heavily, especially during county fair. But yeah, there are some options then there at the livestock barn.
So we'll probably still need to, it's not really getting rid of the electrical upgrades,
No.
it's just pushing it off a little bit, because we'll still.
It would be
need to
putting
do
it
that
into a
building.
different area on the fairgrounds.
The second is on the floor resurfacing. That epoxy finish, what kind of lifespan do they give on that?
Let me look into what I've got and I'll bring that back and come back for the capital outlay, but I'll get those details
Thank you.
for you. I can talk with the gentleman who I guess I'm most excited about as far as putting in the epoxy. I mean, well, of course, we'll put out for RFP and all of that, but he's been very good at educating me on how it works and why it will last. And they do a lot, I'm gonna say Sheridan Motors, Walmart floors, some of the Home Depot, those types of floors where there's, I'm gonna say, even bigger use than at the fairgrounds, and they last. So I'll find out those details.
Thank you. I know your predecessor was painted it a few times.
Yeah. I will share, we had a fail in the floor itself, so we had to jackhammer section out and poured concrete back to make it level, painted it with the same product that was previously done, color matched and all of that, and it's already showing signs of wear and tear. If anyone puts anything more than painter's tape on it, it just peels up, whether it's masking tape or duct tape. So it's very much an eyesore.
Yeah.
And with the use, the crew has painted the bottom portion of the walls of the building now, and it really looks nice. So now it's the floor that needs some attention.
I'm sure I can attest that when I was the president of the Wild Rodeo Board, the Gold Buckle Club and the county went together and put on this epoxy finish, paint that was supposed to be lasting for, I don't know how many years. Evidently, there wasn't a warranty with it, but it was gonna last for, and we paid a lot of money for it.
Yep.
And within 2 or 3 years, you couldn't even tell.
Yeah,
You know?
I spoke
So
with
the
the,
painting stuff, no matter what quality of stuff you use, people had to wear ventilators while they were putting it down because it was such a, yeah, and it was so awesome, and it looked really awesome when they got it done. And it lasted about 2 years and was shot
If you
again.
wanted to take a trip.
Yeah.
right, Dick, you
Yeah.
just walked in there.
That's
took a
right.
deep
Yeah,
breath,
that's
you go
right.
to
Yeah.
Bermuda for a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Kimber.
Thank
Oh, Commissioner Arsey, sorry, you had a question?
Yeah. Train of thought on that. You said you had in the, you had 140 events in the exhibit hall last year,
yes, sir.
so that's 2.6 a week.
Yes. Yes. Some of those are paid, some of those are free.
Are they like
for
doubled up
HFFA.
for two different events at one time?
At times, we do have like a morning event or
Okay.
one of the local churches
I was
has
having
a
trouble
luncheon
with
event.
that concept there
Yep.
for a little bit because it just didn't
Yep.
map out by the math. The other question I had is about the restrooms that are underneath the grandstands. You say you winterize them and don't use them at all
Yes,
because um, they're not insulated enough for winter time.
correct. If you come up and look through the restrooms, you'll see that they're actually open to the air. The concrete wall that separates them from the rest is short, and so there's no insulation in there.
So wouldn't it, have you looked into perhaps getting those more of a permanent nature?
I have not. I have not.
I'd like to.
Ventilation might be nice too, because then you gotta worry about keeping a pool in the summer. And
You're
warm in
gonna
the winter.
have, yeah,
Yeah.
there's ways of shutting them off and put fans in there too at the same time. So
Sure.
I would appreciate if you look into that because I think that would enhance. I too have a challenge with restroom problems up there at the airport, but I was just looking at this as it's kind of like a little bit more of a common sense approach to actually enhance the ones that we already have too.
And I think if I may, some of our issue is actually location based. The bathrooms are really centrally located to the grandstand type events, but when we get into the southeastern side of the facility, there isn't an option. So that was kind of where the permanent restroom facility came in, was to facilitate the south side of the fairgrounds and that eastern side so that any event held outdoors has good options.
So you would be putting them farther over there then?
Correct.
That's really cool.
When your 2-year-old needs to use the bathroom, that's a
Yeah.
long run.
It's a walk for me too.
What about me?
Yeah.
The long run.
I do believe years prior, and it's been quite a few years, there was another permanent, semi-permanent bathroom over towards the eastern side of that fair. Center of the track,
There were actually
interior
two
track, and
different-
then Commissioner Stalls.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, library.
Orange and black. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, floor is yours, Amy. All right, thank you, Madam Commissioner. Madam Commissioners, appreciate the chance to speak with you today. To have a chance to talk about the library, any chance I can get, that's always a appreciated opportunity. I created a handout just to make sure that I could talk through a couple of things as we talk about our budget. You know, the library, it's kind of, sorry, every once in a while I get a little lost in my thoughts, so forgive me. It's one of those institutions that's been around a long time, and it's easy to think in your head like of one image of the library, but when you've been around 100 years, like I have, it's one of those institutions that honestly is constantly growing and evolving, just like any community. And the library has had to continually grow and reinvent itself as the community changes and its needs for the library has changed. The current mission of the Sheridan County Public Library System is to nurture lifelong curiosity, enrichment, and community. And the board and I worked on that mission. And as we talked through, what is the community looking for in their library today? And what do they come in and use it for? And how are they interacting in the library? Post-COVID, the biggest need of the community is really that connection. And I promise this does relate to the budget. Because it's the connection with each other and the connection in the physical space. And all of that comes back to how do we keep that physical space open? How do we keep that connection alive? And their ability to come into the building and learn something new, build a new skill, satisfy their curiosity, learn, check out a book. And it might not be a book, it might be something they're looking up on the computer, something they're looking up on their computer, on the Wi-Fi, a chance meeting with someone that that they know from school or hanging out with friends. There's so many things that happen at the library, and we want to make sure that we're there for the community. This library is really well used. The library system has incredibly high usage statistics throughout the state of Wyoming, as well as just nationally. Wyoming, as a state, is one of the most visited libraries in the nation. I think it's because our communities are relatively small and there aren't a whole lot of places to gather. There are not a whole lot of third places where the community comes to get together and to meet and to just casually be. And so opening the doors, providing the places in these smaller communities like Story and Claremont, River, actually mean a whole lot. And so the biggest increase in my budget is all about providing that access. And so that's why I want to talk about why libraries matter in our communities. The funding mechanism for our library, I don't have anything to sell. I don't have any revenue to talk about as far as what we can provide. Everything that we provide, everything that we bring to the table is from the community. It's from tax dollars. It's from taxpayers. Even when people donate, it's people who donate. It's the community donating. It's the taxpayers donating. It's the tax dollars from their property taxes. And I'm very conscious of that. I'm aware that we're here at the grace of the community, at the grace of the county commissioners. And I know that it's hard, that you guys have a really hard time looking at your big picture, which I very much do not have to do, nor do I understand all the numbers that you're looking at and all the things you're weighing and balancing. And I realize that looking at the library in comparison to the airport or to the fire or the safety or the police or the sheriff, I know that it's a hard thing to balance. And I know that it's hard to put resources towards something that may not feel as critical. But what I see is that libraries transform lives and they have the opportunity to connect intergenerations. My favorite photos, one of my favorite photos is a older gentleman teaching a 7-year-old how to play chess. Or it's possible that the 7-year-old is teaching the older gentleman because the older gentleman is sitting across from him like this. And the 7-year-old's looking at him, waiting for him to take his turn. And those are the things that happen at the library. So in front of you, you have the return on investment, which is the only way I can show you that this community values this library. And I believe that the Constitution of Wyoming, the state constitution, set up libraries as property taxes funded because that's the only way they can provide the growth needed to continue to have the library grow as the community grows. With inflation and with new buildings and new people moving in, it's really the only mechanism that allows our budget to grow with it. Now, I know property taxes have just gone insane, and so I know that no longer provides us that same like thing that makes sense. And so things have to change, and I get that. But I just want to explain that I'm seeking a baseline that makes sense for our services. I am not trying to grow beyond our capacity. I'm just trying to find where that capacity is. And I'm willing to work on that with you guys if this number isn't the right number. I'm just trying to make sure that our doors are open and available to the community, that we're meeting the needs we've been asked for. So now that I've said that, you have in front of you the big summary sheet. So I'll go down that first. And then if you want to talk about any particular detail level, I can certainly go into the more detailed elements. So what we're asking for from the county general fund is a total investment of $1,759,167. This is an increase over our last year's general commitment of $1,413,000. And as you look at each individual amount, we did ask for an increase in our administrative budget. And that increase was due to an increase of $23,500, which had to do with a change in our accounting firm. So we have changed our accounting firm to a new one, and we're pulling in fees that were in a different checking account over into our budget account. And so we were paying it out of a different checking account due to services that were done for that account, and we're pulling it over to a single account.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Amy, is this, are you looking at that being an annual change? Okay.
Yes. We also had an increase in books and materials, returning from $110,000 to $120,000. 120 was our traditional amount. I'm bringing it back up to that after our 8% cut last year. In capital spending, you'll see a $50,000 increase. That is for the pace damper part that we have to replace. And in programs and marketing, there's a $7,000 increase. 5,000 of that is for Claire York's. It's actually a wash for that. We're transferring 5,000 from the foundation into that, so it's technically in revenue. But the biggest increase is in staffing. So under salaries, payroll, and taxes and benefits, I have room in there for 3 positions. Those 3 positions are in the handout and also in the summary sheet that I had given you guys with the budget submission. So for Claremont branch, we would be opening 25 additional hours by adding a part-time staff member. This would give them 45 hours of open hours for each week. Right now, Tammy Bus is there for the evenings, but she's the postmaster at Leiter, so she can't get there till after the mail closes because everyone in Claremont has 5 jobs. And then the Wyoming one has in there a full-time archivist. I do have a full-time cataloger in there right now that I had transferred over in the spring, and I am going to hire the replacement supervisor, but adding a 3rd full-time position, which I know sounds like a lot, but the amount of work we have to do to get 500,000 digital files that are really just saved files on a computer into a catalog system that people can search, along with, right now we have over 1,000 books we found that have never been cataloged. And we have multiple files of digitized photos that have never been scanned or cataloged and that are inaccessible via anything except being in the physical room. We really need these full-time positions to actually get this archive accessible, not just to patrons here in Sheridan, but across the state and in the state archives and everything else. We have found so many things that we are just ill-equipped to be able to keep this archive secure, preserved, and accessible for not just patrons here, but in the future. I really do need these positions, not just to keep the doors open for full Fulmer hours, but to continue to get this archive in the state it needs to be in for what they intended when they opened it in 1985. And then the third position is a full-time programming librarian who would help us with our community partnership programs that we're bringing in. Those are programs where the facilitation will be for free, but we just need the coordination and the support to organize those for the community. So those are the positions that are in that line item and the benefits placeholder, because they would be benefit eligible. 2 of the positions are benefit eligible, so we have to have something if they choose to get the benefits. So that is what is in the budget. Additionally, there is 2 salary adjustments, which if that has to be part of a different conversation, I could take those out. But for 2 supervisor positions that are lower than other non-supervisory positions. But if I have to take those out in order for that to be a different conversation, I have to do that. And that, and the other thing in there is a $15,000 cash reserve that I had to cut last year due to the 8% cut that I put back in just to make sure we never got below any kind of threshold. So that is the presenting. I'm happy to answer questions.
So you want to add 3 positions. How many full-time positions do you have right now?
Right now we have 16.
16?
And we have 14 part-time, and then we add 5 seasonal positions in the summer just to help out in different capacities depending on the desk.
Okay, and that includes Fulmer Library, Claremont Library, Story Library,
And Tongue
and Tongue River Library. Okay.
Madam Chair, Amy, how many do you have permanent full-time positions at the Sheridan?
At Sheridan Library, 13. And I do have a chart. I did not bring the chart, but I do have a chart and I'm happy to sit down and chat.
So 13, 40 hours per week.
Mhm.
That seems, I don't know, seems like a lot to me.
So we
I
have,
don't have anything to compare it to, but
right. So we have a supervisor in each department. We have different departments who specialize in different things. So for instance, I have a full-time facility supervisor, and he has a full-time janitor. I have a full-time children's supervisor, a full-time circulation supervisor, a full-time reference supervisor. Those are all very specific jobs that do very specific things. I have a full-time Wyoming room supervisor. Those jobs can sometimes help each other, but they also cannot do each other's jobs. Trying to think what else is full-time. So each of those departments has one full-time person on their desk, which has slowed turnover for each of those departments. We had only part-time people on their desks before, but then we had a high amount of turnover that was happening. And so we combined positions in order to get one full-time person on each desk. And that helped significantly. And then we have part-time assistants to assist with getting enough people to cover all the open hours of the building. The branches have, let's see, Claremont does not have a full-time person, Story does, and then Tongue River has 2 full-time people, but Story is staffed with part-time people past that.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
I'm gonna help Amy out here.
Thanks.
In mind, this building here, We are open from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. They have to stay open until 7 p.m. Here in Sheridan, and they're open 6 days a week. Branches, depending on the branch, would be 5 to 6 days a week. So they're operating a whole lot more hours than what we do here for the courthouse.
Gotcha.
Also, we have to account for call outs. You always want to make sure you have coverage for that eventuality, vacations. And there are a lot of, just like any clerk's office or any other office, there are a lot of tasks that have to be done away from the desk or outside of the desk. Ordering and cataloging books are also things. So if anyone would like to shadow a library, I'm happy to encourage you to do that. I know that it sounds and looks, when you come into a library, you think, I wonder what they do. And I know that it's impossible for me to completely convey that.
I can't believe the calls I got on the Wyoming room when
I know.
folks, yeah, I think Anne's got something.
Yeah. Madam Chairman, I'm Anna Edwards. I'm the board of the library, or the board chair. And I just wanted to just point out these positions that have been added are really responsive to the community need that has been expressed by our patrons in the community at large. As Commissioner Haswell was going to talk about, a couple earlier in the year, we had a meeting where the Wyoming room was discussed, and currently the Wyoming room even it doesn't have the same hours of the library. And what this position will do is, like, I don't remember how many hours it is now, but it's less than what the library is open. And so this position would allow that room to be opened during the library times for the most part, for all of it. So the community has really conveyed that the Wyoming room is so important to them. But on top of that, they have asked for more programming. And I know that it sounds like the library has so much staff. And we have a lot of staff, but there's a lot of work, but they are maxed out now, and we can do we have staff to do the programming that is currently available. And the community is really asking us to do more, to provide more, to be a place where people can come. And so that's where the community engagement and events library came from. And again, in Claremont, our smallest library, our smallest amount of time that's available to the public to get books in that community. This has also been a request from that community saying, we need more, we want more books, we want more time, we want more access. And so nothing in this budget has been added without extreme, or not extreme, but support and requests from the community. So this really is us, the library, responding to the community needs that have been expressed across our communities, whether the library is big or small. And this is really increasing our access to all the patrons that we serve. So thank you.
Beyond the Wyoming room and Claremont, Claire York's program
Yeah.
is the other one that people are passionate about.
Yes.
I hear a lot about that.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah. And everything that happens, you might like, how much time can that possibly take? But everything does take time. Both Carrie and Judy, even though the doors have been closed to walk-in traffic, we have still had multiple people in there doing research, as we knew we would, and they have been constantly researching questions that have come in through the computer, as we also knew would happen, because they've never stopped. That was part of the problem, is they couldn't do any projects because they were always answering research questions. And so that's why the room is in the state it's in. We never had time to actually organize a lot of the other things that needed to be organized. And so that's why we need the resources we need. There is just a lot of work behind the scenes to keep a library going, and it is hard to explain, but I really am happy to sit down with anyone and walk them through kind of all the things that happen behind the scenes in the library. As much as you want to be a good steward of taxpayer funds, and I also understand that, please understand how much I want to collaborate and be transparent with you guys, which is why I've also shared how much pass-through donations we use and how much philanthropy does go into the budget, because I don't want to be disingenuous about the cost of running a library, because it does actually cost more than maybe it has seemed. And that was very important for me for you guys to know. So,
And I think,
go ahead, yeah.
No, that's okay. I just want to say that, thank you, Commissioner, this morning and everything, and for considering this. This community has a really great opportunity and like the Wyoming Room is obviously a community need, but we just have an opportunity to make it better and make it last longer and make it just impactful, like all over. And I think it's just really important for us to just continue to improve all of that and all of these specialized positions that exist in the library that it's super hard to convey what they do. Turnover is a recipe for disaster, and these people can continue to improve on their jobs and like streamline them if they have the opportunity, to continue. And I just think that being neighborly to all of our surrounding communities really is powerful, and it speaks a lot. And just in addition to like the activity that you see I don't know if any of you have walked by Whitney Park like on any day of the week in any weather, but that thing is popping. And that has significantly increased foot traffic into the library. And I think we need to kind of, we need to be able to anticipate what needs can be filled in that. So staffing the library and improving our position in the Wyoming Room is what the community wants. And that's essentially what we're asking. Thank you.
beyond the kids' summer reading program that's growing, where do you see the other areas of growth? And of course, the Wyoming Room, but.
I anticipate as we finish up the renovation that the physical space is going to be much better utilized. I've heard from, as I've talked out in the community about some of the changes that we're making as far as seating goes and adjusting seating to how people prefer to use a space post-COVID, which is rather than a big table where you kind of have to sit next to people you don't know, which we don't do anymore. More sort of individualized seating, more study spaces that are suited to how people prefer to study these days, and more power-ups and that kind of thing. People are excited to be able to find a space to read, a place to study, a place that they can kind of nook into their own little private areas. And just sort of that lighter, brighter kind of atmosphere. They're excited to have something sort of nostalgic. The reading patio gets a lot of attention because they miss the bookstore being that little glassed-in reading patio. And so just some of the features that they used to have in that more kind of spread out areas to gather. I also think the community programs that we've brought in, like the chess club, NAMI programs, the gardening programs we've talked about with the UW Extension Office. Those kind of things people are really excited to come and do some of that stuff. So I think we're on the right track. I think people are really interested in a lot of the things we've talked about. And the youth and family programs, I think definitely, and then the flatter youth programming space is going to be hugely popular. So I just think people are excited to just come into a new space and use it in new ways, so.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate the work that the board's done with the Friends of the Library and really kind of reinvigorating that group and that fundraising arm. I think that's key too.
The Fairy Tale Ball and Gala is coming together, the Friends of the Library Fairy Tale Ball and Gala, so in a new invigorating way. So I think that'll be one of the first kind of reintroductions to something nostalgic, but also new.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all the support. I don't ever mean to make it sound like the county has not supported this library. We're very well funded, and I do appreciate the interest and the support the county has always provided the library. So thank you very much for that. And I don't envy the position that you guys are in. I'm sorry. Is that it? Yeah,
Madam Chair, I have a couple of
just a second,
questions.
Ida, okay. Ida had a question. Yeah.
I just was hoping that the gal that went second here can introduce herself.
Oh,
For the records, they've got.
Oh, no problem. I apologize. I'm Kim Jacobson, member at large at Board of Trustees.
Two questions and then just something to think about. Under, on page 1 of 10, you do still have the 200,000 for the GPET request. So have you taken into account that was dropped out? So
yes, I did not bring any updated spreadsheets because last year I started getting confused with all the updates. So I decided to wait until after this meeting and then do one update before anything else. So
I just wanted to make sure that.
yeah.
The other one, you said paste damper.
Yeah.
50,000.
So the PACE is the HVAC unit
Okay.
that was part of the GPET request. So that's that $50,000 part replacement that I need. So that's what's in that capital line item.
I was just wondering about that. And then, I appreciate the passion that you bring to this. I think libraries are very, very, very important. And you talk about community. I think one of the things that we've kind of gotten away from, and maybe something to think about, is the number of community members who have volunteered their time to be involved in the library. And maybe that's a way that we can narrow some of the costs associated. I recognize that there are individuals who have very specific specializations, thank you. And you certainly don't want to do anything with that, but as the library continues to grow and as the community continues to want more projects, maybe it's time that we really, instead of hiring new individuals, maybe we turn to the same community and say, hey, we'd love to do these programs. Come volunteer.
Actually, I will say, volunteering is one of the services the library provides as a service because it helps create a community. I'll say two things. One, the Friends of the Library is providing that service for us right now. They're creating a volunteer committee to help organize volunteers because weirdly you have to have a volunteer coordinator to do it. And so they're starting a gardening volunteer group as well as some folks to come in and help us with greeting patrons and maybe volunteering for programs. And so we've always taken shelving volunteers and program volunteer assistants and all of that. And so we do, and we actually have a whole group of people helping us in the Wyoming room. So we actually do now and will continue to accept help from volunteers. COVID actually killed our volunteer programs pretty thoroughly across the nation because they didn't come back in the droves they had been in before. And so we've been trying to rebuild that for years. And I am still hoping that we can just build that back up because it was such a support system for libraries. So I agree 100%.
And it's a testament, I didn't know anything about it because I personally would love to come and volunteer.
Anytime.
To shelve some books.
Walk on in, Angel will sign you up.
Good to know.
Yeah, anytime.
Any other questions for Amy? A chance to chew on it. We can chat again when she's back in a couple weeks.
Madam Chair, in that vein, Amy, I think it would be helpful as we start looking at salaries, or the budget for the library to get an idea, maybe just positions of what basic salaries are.
Sure.
'Cause that's not in here.
I'll just remind folks too that it's the total amount we're approving, not the line items.
Absolutely, but it does make it a little bit easier to understand those salary line items when you have something to compare it to.
Let me know what you can provide. Happy to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, ladies.
Madam Chair, can I request like a 5-minute break?
Sure. Hey, Amy.
I requested it today, Holly requested it yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Angel is in circulation. Okay. And she does have helping volunteers. And Jessica is coordinating the Wyoming volunteers. And she's in Wyoming. Okay.
Sorry.
Zola coordinates the youth kids, like, do like kids. Yeah, just ask me if I'm asking, you know. Yeah.
Well done.
Too much, but you know, there's a ton of us at the library who might not get people and go out and have parties, so that we can like quiet down. Questions are seeing persons, ABC. When I worked at the college in the financial aid office, that was really my job, was to take all of the files and alphabetize it, so nobody could get it back. I can not understand.
The Jacob,
Yeah,
Miss Jacobs talked about a disaster if we lost this person.
So, thanks, guys.
Well, we have sheriff's officers and airport people and all kinds of people that we have to find.
To be fair,
Because those are a disaster, literally.
every county department. They're all full-time positions. Blackberry's one of the few that has to operate half its budget. And so it's only because people want to work there that they're able to.
Yeah.
Part-time. If you actually put them on.
So yeah, I'll get that
Yes,
to you.
and
I actually,
full-time. like-
people ask me, I tried to keep
Yeah.
Google went out of the loop because we have more problems when people go there. I said,
God,
"Well, you
not
gotta
able
find
to say
those
it's
out." Years
bad
after I had that,
or
which
other.
is even though that one was,
That's different.
yeah, they.
Some of those positions.
Well, it's been
already
there
got, so
maybe a year.
they must have gotten rid of in the last 3 years. and
But-
they'll bring them back in.
That's pretty. Because they've had legislation. You're the person who said. Yeah.
Control the computer.
Yeah, let me see, and then I can call, I get some lab manager and have a look at what's going on.
Unless you narrow down exactly what you're doing.
We may have to have. Check too.
That's when you
Figure it out. All right, okay.
And you stuck it out.
Yeah, boy, I kind of thought.
You would have been done by
A
now.
little faster, so I.
There's a quiz about the library. You ready?
What's the fluctuation in the lease payments?
That as a revenue or an expense?
Ex-
Are we in fixed costs?
Yes,
They
it's on the second
increased-
page. Here's the-
How you doing?
All right. Fixed costs.
So it's 56,000 in 24-25. Now we're estimating 59.
Yeah, they give us COLA increases. And so
Oh,
they adjusted.
I'll find some.
I think this is.
I said I'll find something.
Gave us 5,000 cushion.
I did.
And then we started doing.
they're still gone. Okay. They're still gone.
It's just one of those. It's taking $100 here, 500 there,
Mhm.
trying to make cuts. So it's more of an accurate 59.
Oh. I started there. They wanted to.
Give me
Okay.
There.
Okay.
I love to do anything. Yeah.
Nope.
Gotta stretch it out.
Mike was out running stairs. Yeah.
Get up and walk 50 feet and then you find the restroom.
Okay, now we're on to fixed costs.
What time are you starting?
Just as soon as we get everybody back. You're good.
So can we, let's go through this thing. Sorry.
Oh, so the application to USDA said, okay, they have funding available. They want to have it allocated by September, so we should know something soon.
Oh, okay. For whatever reason, my
I
mind.
always thought my students that the fixed costs were the 35, depreciation, interest, rent, taxes, and insurance.
That's a good way to look at it.
Oh,
The SAW meeting, oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah, no, that's okay, yeah, so you turn, yeah, that's a
You
credit.
can't claim it as deduction.
Good, thank you. Yeah,
Unless
yeah.
you bought that county. If it was born on your place, you cannot, it's a natural death. Isn't that something?
Right,
It's like, yeah, 'cause I lost a lot of money.
are we good? We good,
So
Enid?
it works out.
All right, fixed costs.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Just as a brief summary, and then I'll dive into a couple of these. We, from our budget last year, 3,589,000 will go up to 3,942. The reason for those increases is based off of mostly the fair, the library, the airport's increased requests. Those cannot be approved until you approve those other budgets. So they may fluctuate, they may be the same, but that's the vast majority of the increase. Moving back up to the benefits section, start at page 1 there. I haven't put in any major change other than in workers' compensation. We sometimes will get a larger amount. So as you see, it was a negative thus far. So I'm just putting in a number, the benefit contingency. This too can fluctuate, may not have anything one year and we'll have more another year. So putting that up to back up to 25,000, which is what we had in 24, 25. The bigger item changes, accounting and auditing services, that went from 120 to 146.5. Again, you offer or approved TMCH as our audit prep, and then Jones Simpkins LLC as our auditors. Those two costs are probably 100% of that increase. You move into premiums, insurance, and bonds. The cost for our insurance is going up. It's not a lot, it's 15,000, but still we were anticipating probably a 15% increase in our property, and that came in kind of stable. So even with our valuation of buildings going up, there was a discount in there. So we got a 1-year reprieve on that. And that's the WARM, which is the Wyoming Association Risk Management. The LGLP is our liability, and they did have an increase in there, and I'm anticipating a bigger increase the year after. So we'll see a slight one in there, but look for a bigger jump the year after. Postage and freight. 2 years ago, we put it at 225, then 150, this time 100,000. We do postage for the whole building out of this account, but the reason it jumped up was because of the license plates, and they found that a lot of people didn't want to pay the $7, so they came and got them in person. So we never did really max out on that. So Katie has asked that it go down. She's not seeing that there will be too much this year. And then the Parks Rec and Beautification. So 2 years ago, we had 15,000. We dropped it to 5. I brought it up to 13.5. The only two items that come out of here are the spring cleanup and then the fall cleanup. This is dealing with the city. I'm anticipating that we will definitely be over for this year because the bill that just came in from the city was closer to 9,000. So, and then we didn't approve the fall one yet, but just keep in mind, if you're going to put in this budget line item, then that's what you're dealing with is the city, okay? The fire suppression, the main reason we had it higher was because of the elk fire. And then we're bringing it back down. These are the premiums that we pay to the state to be a part of the fire suppression fund, which then allows them to reimburse us. So every fire district will put some in, every county puts it in. So the 21,000 you can think of as more of an insurance policy. When we do have a claim, we pay the first 2,500 as well. But again, they drop just because hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't have another situation like the elk fire. The Forest Reserve Fund project is a wild card. I believe it's going to be at 23,000. So we may have to adjust that. I'm working with Katie Harris on that. It'll come as a resolution to you in June that you have to look at. And then again, fair, library, airport, you haven't approved those budgets. Once you approve the general fund amount, it will correspond back into this one and you'll have to adjust those. That's about an overview. So at this point, I'm not recommending you approve this budget because it can change based off of what you approve in other budget lines. Any questions?
Questions?
Yeah. Curious, why do we pay property taxes?
Which line? President?
Miscellaneous, the first side.
Okay. This one was on the purchase of the property next to the attorney's office. So that's where you got the $12.69. We put it in as a $50 so that there can be a placeholder in the accounting software. But the $12.69 was you have to pay the property tax the first year on that new property. Yeah. But normally, no, we don't pay property tax.
Okay, capital funding.
Madam Chair,
Oh, did I skip one?
I have a question
Yeah.
on fixed costs, a couple of questions.
Oh, sorry.
Madam Chair, I'm just wondering, absentee mailing of ballots will have about 5,000 for the primary, 5,000 ballots to mail out for the general. Would Mr. Duff like an estimate on that as far as the mail expense machine for 10,000 ballots approximately that will need to be mailed this year due to an election year?
Madam Chair, you're more than welcome to add in like 10,000 to this, but I think Katie was overestimating how much she would need. So I'm thinking we're going to come in closer to 80 to 90,000. So there should be enough built in to already do those mailings. But that's at your pleasure.
Okay, and these would be mailing out absentee requested ballots,
Correct.
about 10,000. And they are larger envelope, they're more expensive, and of course, all the pricing went up, but I just want to make sure we're covered.
Madam Chair, if we want to be on the safe side, then yes, by all means, we can add in about 10,000 to that.
Add in $10,000.
If that's what your estimate is for going from the 100,000 going up to 110, or is
Oh,
what's
no, I'm
that?
sorry, I'm just estimating 10,000 ballots, not
10,000 ballots?
dollars.
If you could determine then what the price of the mailing.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, 5,000 ballots for the primary and 5,000 ballots for the general, so 10,000 mailings.
There's also going to be the Sheridan Area Rural Fire District also.
And the Sheridan Area Rural Fire District, which is about another 5,000 ballots.
If you have time over the next 2 weeks before we come back in June, to give an estimate, and then I would recommend we just add that in.
Yes, I'll have Misty work on that for me. Thank you, Misty. And I think we have an idea of the current price for that ballot with the weight. We'll get an estimate and get that to you. So that would be approximately 10,000 ballots for the primary and general together, and about 5,000 additional ballots that would go out for the fire district mail-in ballot election. My second question, if I may, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
I cannot remember if this is the correct budget that would ensure the polling locations on election day. Is that in this budget? And I know we have a decrease by one since we got rid of one polling location. And is that something that I need to reach out and get a price on and see if that price went up? Or is that something Mr. Duff does? I cannot remember.
Madam Chair, that is already included in the premium insurance and bonds. Can't remember the exact amount, but it was under 2,400. It could have even been closer to 1,600 for the ballots or the polling locations. Changing one location will not change the amount of the premiums. So all it does is it adds a rider to say, here are the locations, but it doesn't necessarily change the premium. So it is already included. And then the rest of it, yes, I take care of.
Thank you. And so we would have one less polling location to pay for this year.
Madam Chair, I have one question. On lease payments for equipment storage, we still are under contract until January on that? Is that correct?
Madam Chair, it is for one more year, so it'd be through June 30th, I believe, of 2027.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Capital facilities. I've been waiting here patiently, and then I tried to skip over it.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Ken Muller, County Engineer. See the spreadsheet there, total bottom line is 2.7 million roughly. That's probably a little bit less than we've done in the past. It's fluctuates between, we've had 3.5 million down to about this number, depending on the projects that's in that fiscal year stuff. So one of the big ticket items we've been, red grade, and that's paid for, even though it's been constructed this fiscal year. That's paid for. Okay.
He's trying to find it.
Capital facilities tax is our thing.
Okay, we're good. We're there.
Okay, so, yeah, red grade, we've already paid for that, even though it's gonna be constructed this fiscal year. Basically, we've already paid for it. Based on the bid items and how the project goes, if it goes good, we actually might get some money back on that. So, but that's not accounted for in here. And we have a bridge this fiscal year, but that's 100% paid for by the federal program. And East Ridge Road is also in this year's, which we've let to project. So yeah, it's pretty much continuing on the same as we've done. We'll do about 24 miles of new gravel. This also includes continuing on about 130 miles of dust control. It does have a project in here for an airport road. Airport road at the end of the pavement is really deteriorated. What happened there was back in 2008, 2009, when we rebuilt West Frontage Lane and Airport Road under the grant that Stopka and the county got. We stopped short of going north to the county property because at that time we still owned Airport Road going back to Bighorn Avenue, but it was always slated to be a City of Sheridan Street.
Oh.
And then in the meantime, we've got that done. The City of Sheridan owns Airport Road from Bighorn Avenue up to Zuni Drive. And so now we know which is our piece and which is shared piece. So this got a project in there to rebuild our piece of Airport Road. It's really deteriorated for many years. We've been holding it together. Robert's Airport project is really hammering it. He's using that to haul around to the north end of the airport. So it's really fitting somewhere. So I think we need to get the project going and get that done this year.
Okay.
On that. Then two things that are kind of different that we've had in the past. This also has 275,000 for the clean burn, Tongue River stabilization recreational area. If you recall, last budget, you guys approved 100,000, and that was because we were gonna get a design going and get it done. We was able to get the grant funds from the conservation district to do the design. And that's proceeding right now. So we have a good, kind of a rough cost estimate on that project. We're applying for grant funds, and what the 275 would be our cost after the grant funds are applied to the construction of the project. So,
So that's like required matching funds or,
yeah,
okay,
correct.
all right.
So, and then, got some funds in there on Red Grade Road for a variable message sign, electronic variable message sign. Been, coordinating with Levi at the sheriff's office. He feels like we really need to have a variable message board where our current static sign is now. So I've been talking to contractors, getting cost estimates and putting up so he can change the message on that thing and have, you know. And Levi's willing to speak today about that if, you know. My first option with the Red Grade Road project is including it, in the project, try to change order it onto that project. But if we can't get that done, I put funding in here to do that. So that'll be my first option, and with Red Grade Road, just start to kick off with the contractor and stuff. And I'll approach the Central Federal Land and see if we can get it paid. That way we get 90% of it paid, 10% will be our match. It's possibly something could be done. If not, Levi would like to proceed and get it put in at the end of this project, maybe the end of this year.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
So the last page of your, so it didn't print the grant total, so yeah, they're giving it to you now.
You had to go in there and clear the print area, then reprint it.
Can I have a question? It doesn't really pertain to a budget, but, and I meant to bring it up at the staff meeting and evidently I forgot. When I was at the Forest Service Steering Committee meeting the other day, the cattle leases on the mountain up Red Grade had a big concern about our new parking lot area down there because that we approved, because that's where they hold their cattle overnight before they head up the mountain. Is there still gonna be room there, any place for them to hold cattle before they go up the mountain? Or is that they had a really big concern with me about that.
They overnight about 5 nights.
They overnight there, when they're taking their cattle up the mountain. And the question was, if you guys build a parking lot there, what are we gonna do? And it's like, that's that, and I forgot to bring it up.
Well, I'm sure they're voicing their concern at the BLM. It's where they need to voice their concern.
That's what I
Put the
told them.
application in.
Okay,
I sent them the design and told them to call BLM.
okay, good enough.
But it is, yeah, it ain't very big. I mean, I think it's only 17 acres total.
Yeah, I didn't hear back from them after I sent the design to them, so. I think the problem was the paper wasn't very descriptive when they put it in the press, so they didn't know, it just said parking lot, they didn't know how big or.
Okay,
But there's no money in here for a parking lot because it isn't approved.
Yeah.
If you want me to put some in, I can. I mean, we did have a cost estimate on it.
Right.
I gave it to you in the application.
right.
Okay, any other questions? How are we feeling about capital facilities? Look for a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I move to approve the capital facilities requested budget as presented.
We have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. All right, now on the capital funding.
Do you want to do the SCARF budget, Madam Chair?
Oh, God. Yes.
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand. You know, we expense out of the cap tax budget for capital improvements. So we don't really do a lot of expense out of the SCARF budget. So the big bulk of it is transferring to the cap tax budget for expense. What we have in there in this budget is 270 transferred to the CIP budget, the cap tax budget. That's for East Ridge Road. East Ridge Road qualifies for SCARF funding. We always use SCARF funding for those that qualify for sure because of the state statute requirements. And then the 100,000 is capital equipment purchase. The state statute allows us to use 100,000 per year to purchase motor graders only. And we got a motor grader coming up this fiscal year. So with the 100,000, with the GPET money, you guys have preliminary gave the county road and bridge. Appreciate that. Thank you. And with capital equipment requests that you'll be dealing with maybe later, which is the smaller line item of all the three, we'll be able to buy that motor grader, buy a new tandem axle truck and the rest of our fleet.
Okay.
Madam Chair, just a question. So the 100,000 to purchase that equipment, do we expense it out of the SCARF or does that have to go over to cap tax for expenditure?
We can expense it out of this budget.
You can. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
I would make a motion to approve the SCARF budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. Now, capital funding.
Madam Chair, I'm just trying to go line by line on this one. You heard from the sheriff, his request yesterday, that's the first line for detention center, sheriff's office, capital improvements, today was 15,000. Unless there's any questions, I'm not gonna rehash that one. Okay. Moving down, and Ken just left, but in the road and bridge equipment, the 95,000, that ties into what you just mentioned about SCARF and what is going on with the GPET. So that is an additional, so it's pretty much his equipment requests are coming out of 3 different line items. Okay. The bigger one is the phone system. So last year we had a phone system for the sheriff's office. We had budgeted 35,000. It turns out the range doesn't like to expense it all at once, so it's over a 3-year period. What we're trying to do now is not only include the payment that we'll have to do for the sheriff's this next year, but we need to replace the phones in this building. We are unable to get handsets anymore, so what we're doing is when something breaks down, we're using the old ones we pulled out of the sheriff's office to make do here until we can get the phone system replaced in this building. It is going to be about at a minimum 2.5 times the cost of what we did at the sheriff's office, most likely 3 times. So we're budgeting it in there, but it is something that has to occur. So place that in as the 120. The renovation to the historic courthouse, it's not really renovation. This is the slip loan repayment that we have to do. We paid 2 payments, and so we'll have 8 more years of payments. So that's 325. The category, I think I have it wrong. It's new office building next to public health. It should be next to the attorney's office. This one is the public defender, so it's your choice, but at this point, the public defender is saying that the building is too small and that they would like a couple rooms added on. If your pleasure is to go ahead and do that remodel reconstruction, I'm just putting in a placeholder. We would still have to go up to bid. We'd still have to have either construction or architect involved in it. So again, this is a placeholder, but the sooner you decide what you want to do, the faster we can actually go up to bid. We have only until June 30th of next year to finish this, as the lease from the Bank of Montreal ends, and they are sounding like they're not going to renew the lease. So one way or the other, we'd have to find space for them by next June. So that's the placeholder there. The heating and AC renovation, we have 515,000 in. Eric started to talk about this yesterday, so if you'd like him to elaborate on that, now would probably be a good time. Would you like that?
Please do.
Eric? Okay.
So this is proposed for a new rooftop unit on our main building up here. The current unit is 19 years old. I believe their lifespan is about 20 years, but just in the last couple of years that I've been here, we've done thousands of dollars worth of repairs. And the way I understand it, particularly with the way it's tied to our air handler system, when we get a leak, because it's using the old Freon, that's very expensive. Instead of being able to kind of patch that leak, they end up cutting that line, and of course then running on lower and lower percentages of what you could be. So the proposals for a new rooftop unit, the unit that I'm looking at is right around $250,000. And it is a little bit different than what we're running now. Right now, we're running, I think it's like R21 Freon, it's the old stuff. This is actually much more closer to a chiller type unit. So it would run on glycol. So the advantage to that is down the road, when you do have a repair that you have to do, you're not paying through the nose for evacuating the system and then putting new Freon in. You're actually just draining water that has glycol in it. So that's kind of the unit I picked. The other reason is it's the exact same footprint as what we have on the roof right now. So we would save costs in setting the new unit up there without having to revamp the roof for a bigger or smaller type unit. One of the downsides to that is it's a 250 amp unit and we're running 200 amps at the current system. So 15,000 would have to go into electrical to pull 250 amps up there versus 200. I've got 50,000 in there for crane costs to get it up there and take the old one down. 100,000 in labor costs. And then we would have to revamp some of the air handler room to accept the glycol water instead of the free. As far as the air handler room goes, I've had one guy come out and tell me, oh my gosh, this thing's ancient. Of course, it's built right into the building and you got to replace everything. And I've had a different guy come out and go, this has been one of the best well-maintained air handler rooms I've ever seen. All you have to do is replace, the lines in the evaporator coils to accept it. So that's the one I went with. And we do maintain that room quite well to the degree what I can see. The motors and everything are still in great shape. So that's where we're getting the 515,000. Any questions?
No.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
how many bids did you get?
We haven't gotten any bids. This is just me reaching out to different,
Okay.
different HVAC companies, getting different cost.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
if this was approved, then we would go out to bid and put in the specs of the type of unit we were looking for. So no, this isn't a finalized.
Investigation.
Yes, we just needed a number to bring back to you. And then the other piece to this is you have a couple different options with the capital expenditure, but in this one in particular, you can always do cash, but you also have a reserve for maintenance courthouse facilities of $3,750,000. You can choose to go into the reserve for this particular expenditure since it is an HVAC replacement in this building.
Gotcha. Madam Chair, I have
Yeah.
another question. Okay, so what do we do with the old one? Does that just end up scrap metal or is there a trade-in
You know,
allowance or?
I didn't get any feedback on trade-ins. I would assume that that would just be scrap.
Can we readapt it to someplace else? Although it's huge, I'm sure, you know, kind of be.
I don't know that we can adapt it to, let's say, another county entity. It's so tied in with the way our air handler works, our air handler room here. If you wanted to like repurpose it, you'd almost have to find a county building the size of this one to make it work, I would think.
You'll be checking.
I can check. One more thing on that note, I guess, is what it would cost to get rid of it. I guess I didn't think of that, but that may be part of the cost is just getting rid of the old.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
the city takes scrap metal for free and Zawadas pays for scrap metal. So if it is indeed scrap.
But the old Freon, I don't know.
Freon would be old,
Evacuate
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I don't know what the cost would be on that, I guess.
Chisel and a
Okay.
hammer.
Good mind, remember on your horse trade.
Environmentally acceptable.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, capital repairs improvements.
That one, in the notes, I had a couple different items in there, including our normal HVAC repairs that we have to do in not only this courthouse, but the old courthouse and the juvenile building. And I forgot to put in the narrative the 6,000-ish for public works request that Mark had for his storage units. But it is in there. I just put 30,000 for the HVAC and it should have been 24 and 6,000 for the public. So it doesn't change the dollar amount. We are trying to upgrade two other things. This building or this room right here, we are looking at the TV upgrade. And maybe Mark can help me with this one, but as you see, we have projectors going to it. Yesterday was a prime example of what happens when the projectors aren't working. We have to reset the whole system. It's getting harder and harder to reset this system. So 2 years ago, I had requested funds to go out to bid. That was like 120 some thousand. What we're requesting is to put in more of a TV system, HDMI cables, get rid of the projectors and then put in possibly 3, like 1, 2, screen back here. It will make it easier to see. Right now we have lighting issues where it fades and you can't see the screen as well. So we did put in 16,000 for that. We will have some wiring, possible electrical, but as it stands right now, I think we have electrical by each one, so it's more of a tapping into what's already there. But these projectors are starting to go, and each projector can be from 1,500 to 2,500. So the amount we're going to put into just replacing the projectors doesn't necessarily solve the image quality of the whole system. So, and then Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, we're not doing anything with the other for the screens, but we are trying to put in a camera system similar to this so that the clerk can record meetings if it takes place in room 210.
Yes, exactly. That's correct. We looked at putting in just a camera recording system in 210, not screens. We could still use the portable screen that's in there or the projector that's in there. But what we added in would put in a video camera and the microphones and a computer for recording like we have in here.
And then the last piece to that is on the public works, their conference room on the fourth floor, it was putting in something similar. It's just a screen and tapping into HDMI.
That makes sense. They use that a lot. It'd be nice for them to have that.
So the screens, Mark, sorry, Madam
No.
Chair, would the screens be the similar size to what we have that drop down, or are they gonna be more like just a big TV
So
screen?
it's a TV screen. So if you went to Walmart right now, you can get like an 86-inch for $500-600. We may end up having to do something if we're a little bigger, but we're not talking tens of thousands. We budgeted around 1,000 for each of the units.
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Yep.
Mark, Cameron, you mentioned $6,000 for storage for IT.
No, that was for Public Works. Do you recall Mark Reed when he presented the Public Works, he was talking about some filing cabinets? And he said, oh, I think Cameron put that in the
Right.
capital.
Yeah, okay.
That's in this particular line item.
That, I got to do that mixed up. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Yes.
The library capital improvements, this is the SLIB loan repayment. Next year will go up to the final payment. So that's the reason it increased from 267,528 to 280,111. After next year, that one goes away. That's a pass through, so we receive revenue to offset the particular one. And then we move to the fairgrounds capital improvements. Two points. This one here is the request from Commissioner Arce. It's a placeholder, so I'll let him discuss that particular building that he's proposed. And then if you discuss anything else with fairgrounds, the capital request, it would go under this line item. And the reason they won't, they could still do it on their side of the budgeting, but we need it in here so that the auditors can add it into our fixed assets. So I'll turn it over to Commissioner Arce.
Okay, I didn't bring the drawings and the bids are just very similar to what they were last year on it. However, we're revamping it. We're not going to turn it into a triple secure unit. It's going to be a storage unit that will have double security. And each department or entity can have their own part of the storage. That doesn't change. It's still gonna have its own additional rooms in there. We took off some of the concrete into the big area because of cost, trying to get the cost down as far as we could. And also because that's just gonna be for equipment storage. So we just threw a figure in there for this because in order to go for this project, we're not doing RFP with companies. But I did do, I talked to A&D a little bit about it, and they said it'll be considerably lighter on the cost. So it's right at about 285 is what we put in there for the building.
Commissioner Arce, what's the footprint size of that building?
80 by,
Well, the one that's,
36 by 16 by 16
yeah,
with five storage bays and a 24 by 60 long trailer storage area.
yeah, that's for Jesse's portable radio tower. And we might have a vehicle or something that, an impounded vehicle when Levi runs out of room down there, or things like that. So that part of it, like I say, we're trying to cut costs on it as far as we can.
But we couldn't put elections equipment in it, right? Is that the conclusion we
I
came?
think that
or-
would be, yeah, I do think that, yeah, that's another, that's what we were gonna do with it until, I know that Edith said something about she had to wait another year or something like that, and before she could actually, give them to another, county or that might be using those storage election boxes, but So, but yeah, they can be stored in there as well, sure. So this is just in preparation for,
Yeah, I wasn't sure with like the security requirements, because we talked about that before. Sorry, it's been a minute since we've talked about this
Yeah,
building,
but
so I'm
it's-
just trying to clear the cobwebs.
Madam Chair, are you talking about the machines, like the voting machines
Yeah.
or the?
oh,
I think what Commissioner Argy is talking
Yeah.
about is there's a bunch of,
there's a,
Cages.
yeah,
there's a-
cages.
yeah, some containers
Oh.
up there in that other storage unit that we had to, but they can be stored in there easily.
So with what we're paying on rent, how soon does this building pay for itself?
This, well, I don't know, I guess it depends on whether or not you want to do a full schematic on, or if you just want,
So-
okay,
I guess, yeah, what are we spending on rent right now, Mike?
2,200 a month, something like that.
Madam Chair, it's 1,800.
1,800, yeah. And I think that's supposed to be going up, isn't it?
No, we have it locked in. She likes, the landlord likes us as renters, so she hasn't increased it in the last 3 years. So if she is gonna increase it, it would be a 5%, but that would be after 2 more years.
Now, if you look
So-
at that and then you add along with the fact that anytime you build a building of your own, it's on your property, you have, yeah, you're gonna gain in value of what the fairgrounds is actually worth or what the county's worth by doing that, so. There's two different offsets to that.
So, Madam Chair, the 285 that I put in versus the 246, that was the quote, gives a little leeway if there's a bid that comes in different, and it includes some of the prep stuff that we would have to take care of on our side, whether that's electrical, whether it's groundwork, bringing in gravel, whatever. So it just gives a little bit of a cushion in there. And so it's roughly a 12-year return on investment.
12 years, okay.
So, Madam Chair, I know we've bannered this around, we've talked about this and so on, and man, I tell you what is the fairgrounds is maxed out size-wise. I just don't believe the fairgrounds is the right place for this building. I just really don't, in terms of the space and the facilities, and I would love to hear the Fair Board speak to this request, because I just think that size-wise, and I know that we're saying, well, it's in a spot over there just north of that lean-to shed that's not really being used. But now they're looking at putting in this other new building at the fairgrounds that's gonna require a lot more space for parking and so on. And I know that it was said that if we put this on some of our airport property, that's property that could be rented. Well, the fairgrounds property gets rented as well when it's used, and I just really don't believe the fairgrounds is the right place for this building. I'm not opposed to us building a storage building and saving on storage. I am opposed to us doing it at the fairgrounds.
Okay.
So,
Kimber, can I put you on the spot and, if the board's had a chance to have a discussion about this? Hopefully you've been asked.
Kimber Solberg, Fairgrounds Director. I've spoken with Commissioner Arzy about this, but it's been a while. And unless don't remember, has it ever, I don't know, has it come before the Fair Board? I don't know if there's, there hasn't been anything that's been on our agenda.
I think that Chairman of the Board, Jeremy Kissling, I think he and I have had a conversation about it, but I don't think that we have ever discussed it in board setting.
Yeah, I don't recall it on any agenda.
Okay. Well, that should probably happen.
I guess, and I'm gonna agree with Commissioner Siddle on the space premium piece of it. Now, I get it that we need to maximize our facilities too, so. It would be an interesting conversation. I guess I still have this as a topic that wasn't still gonna, I didn't realize that it was coming back onto discussion, so.
Yeah,
We
okay.
can certainly get it on the agenda if that.
Well, and it's not to say that we can keep it as a placeholder and just figure out the best place for it.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I'm not aware of any other property the county owns that is vacant other than like the sportsman club, the flying club, we own little pieces like that, but just as a point of consideration, if you build out by the airport, on airport, we will then have to pay a lease back to the airport. So that won't negate those lease costs. So it would have to be a piece of property that the county already owns.
Chair, on the area, the east portion, I don't know if, because of that property having been given to the county, I think there's some requirements that has to be used for recreational purposes, so I don't think that.
And that may be true. I'm just trying to wrap my brain. Is there any other plot of land that the county owns? And we really don't own a lot of vacant land.
Because we're not allowed to put this where the road and bridge is, correct?
Well, no, you can put it up there, but you pay a lease then to the airport. The only other place is right by the coroner's office, the old Kentucky Fried Chicken parking lot area. That's about the only other piece of land the county owns outright that does not have a restriction.
Well, the other issue is accessibility. Anytime, the farther out you are in your storage, different directions, the less convenient it is for the clerk to take 5 boxes of filing papers that she no longer needs, or the treasurer, whoever, and if it's in town, it's better than if it's someplace a lot further out. So I guess we got 2 options, either the fairgrounds or maybe over by the coroner's office.
Actually, Madam Chair, the security wise, I would think that next to the sheriff and the police department would be way better than up at the fairground.
I agree.
Because that's one thing I worry about with like Clerk Thompson's documents, treasurer documents, the security aspect of having paperwork stored, back in the deep dark hole next to the show barn doesn't seem like a very good idea, so maybe up by the police department and the sheriff's office would be a way better option.
I think that's good discussion. That gives us another place to go look, and I'm sure it'll fit in there. It's the big thing is logistics as to whether or not we can get that big portable radio tower of Jesse's and still have, I don't know what the lot size there is, but we'll look at it.
Yeah.
See if we can get that to work.
And I'm unsure. I'm just giving options. I don't know of any other plot of land field.
Chairman, if I could, in the effort that's being made by the fairgrounds right now to look at possibly a building that would serve the community's needs, I would like to focus on the community being the recipient of any of the funding that we're requesting for a building and not utilizing space for storage. I think that is a great way to bring stuff into our community that helps generate tax revenue. And I would like to not have this space at this time spoken for storage.
Yep, makes sense. Okay, can we put a pin in that? Mike, you can check into
I'll look into that.
that spot on North Main. Okay. Yeah.
Moving down the line, the national settlement, 120,000. This is 100,000 will go to the hospital, 20,000 the sheriff and prevention have some projects in there. This is 100% covered under the settlement. So there's a revenue side, and then there's also reserves that cover this expense. The missing is lost expense we have had in the past couple of years. It's now at 0. This is if there is an insurance claim. We have to pay it out and then we get reimbursed. So fingers crossed again, we won't have a claim this year. So that's why it's down to 0. And then the next page, You had approved my full request for GPET for commercial air service. This is the minimum revenue guarantee. I'm asking at this time that 110,000 be removed. That's all I have unless there's questions.
Right, are we waiting to approve these? What's the sentiment of the group?
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
As we're looking at this, you know, we touched on it very briefly, the 515,000 for the renovation for the courthouse. I think it would be really good for us to look at taking that out of savings, because that'll drop the amount of expenditures that we're trying to cover with our revenues. And it comes out of, am I correct in that it would go over to savings and then our expenditures versus our revenues?
Yeah, you have two options. The general fund equity is what you consider as your savings or checking account. There is roughly at this point, 6 million, 6.3 in there. That will fluctuate over the next month and a half. So you can take it from there, or you could take it from your reserve of 3,750,000. But either way, it'll show up as cash here and it would offset, and yes, it would decrease the amount of your deficit.
I agree with Commissioner Jennings on that. And Cameron, do you think it would be better to go with it out of the reserve or out of the checking?
So ironically, any other year I would have said reserve, but your checking account, the general fund equity, last year was, I would put about 5.9, and then we were gonna dip 1.2 million into that, so it should have brought it down to 4.7. And what I just said was we're at 6.3, so our revenues did go up. So my suggestion would be taking it from general fund equity.
Okay. Is that a motion, Holly?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to move 500, or to expend 515,000 for the line item, the placeholder, whatever that may be, to go out for bid for, remove it from I guess I just need to remove it from the general expenditures budget and place it,
No,
just remove it?
no, it would stay in the capital budget. All you're doing is requesting that on the revenue side, there is an offsetting from general fund.
That's exactly what he just said. That's my motion. Okay.
Second.
Motion a second, any other discussion? Right, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed? All right, I look for motion on the budget.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the general expenditures part of this budget.
Second.
Is there a motion a second? Any discussion?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I still have a couple of things. You jumped too quick there.
Still discuss.
Yeah, the only one that I had some concern with was with the sheriff's office. Just the.
To the phone?
No, that one's not the phone system.
Second from the bottom.
It's the,
Roof replacement.
no, this was the, if I'm understanding correctly, this is the,
Basement renovation.
the capital request, the traffic and speed detector is. Am I looking at the wrong one here?
Jammer, yeah, at the top. The jammer and the training simulator?
Yeah, that's the correct line item, right?
Replacement of 2 rooftop units and
Yeah,
relocation
the
of another one?
58,000. I'm very much for I think we definitely need to replace the rooftop units and the control chairs. I'm not as sure on the training simulator. I think that would be nice. As Sheriff Dominguez said, that's a want, not necessarily a need. And then I personally, I go back and forth on the traffic speed and counting detector. It's always the first step. I realize there's no cameras on it now. I worry about what'll happen in the future, but.
But I mean, he also said that he's not the only department that's gonna be able to use it. So,
Of those two, the training simulator, I think, is the one that if we're trying to decrease our deficit in our budget, no, it's a want. So I think we should maybe hold off on that.
May I make one more suggestion? Every single thing that you have in this capital funding, you can pull from general fund equity to pay for it, and it would decrease the amount of your deficit for general operations. So it's an option not only for the heating and AC, it's for all the other line items as well. I'm helping you, Holly.
I recognize that you're wanting to pull it out, but it's still a want and not a need. And I don't think we should expend it for it at all. That's my thought. I would be
we
okay
have a
with it.
motion and a second for approving this.
You're amending?
I guess I would amend to remove the training simulator for 16,000 out of the budget, out of that budget. Out of this budget.
I'll second that for discussion then.
Discussion?
Madam Chair, I think that we've certainly talked about how important law enforcement and possible good training for our law enforcement people is, and although it might be more of a want than a 100% need, I think we've seen some things happening in our community, and not just in our community, but in communities all over the country, where perhaps this could save a police officer from getting into some kind of a difficulty because they're trained for those situations.
Yeah, I would agree.
Madam Chair, I don't disagree with the idea of additional training, but there is quite a bit of training already that is happening. And I don't know, I'd rather see us start to address some of the other issues that the sheriff's office needs.
All right, any other discussion
Yeah,
on
Madam
the
Chair,
amendment? Yeah.
I will be in favor of this amendment, and the reason is because a simulator doesn't blow snow in your face or rain or anything like that. You're in a controlled environment, and that's not real life. And so, coming from a law enforcement family background, clear back to my grandfather's days, I'm not really sold on this. I don't think that the people that I've talked to really are either. So I'll be voting in favor of the amendment.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of the amendment, pulling out the training simulator, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That motion fails. Back to the original motion to approve the budget that we had seconded. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just want to clarify. Is there gonna be a further amendment to clarify where these monies are coming from, or are we just approving the budget as is?
We already pulled out the new office, or excuse me, the HVAC update, and that's the only thing we needed to pull out.
Okay, I'm just following up with Mr. Duff's suggestion that other things could fall into that as well.
Okay, oh, I understand, sorry. Folks have any other thoughts? Okay. All those in favor of approving the rest of the capital funding budget, say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, optional sales tax.
Madam Chair, you looked at this a week or two ago and went line by line on this one, so unless there's any other questions, I don't have anything else new to provide for you at this time.
the heck am I going?
It's right after the library hospital.
Thank you. All right, any questions here? You've taken care of all of this. Okay, all right. Grants requested.
Madam Chair, do you need an official approval of
If we already approved it.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
and board, since every single line item was officially voted on by motion in the prior board meeting, I'm fine with just taking that and going with it, much like we did the elected official salaries, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're structurally, we're okay.
I think we're okay, and unless the board or Mr. Johnson look for something else.
Grants.
Sure. The grants one is going to be a little difficult to go through right now. There's still a couple items that I'm working with Erin with BMCH to clarify the numbers in here, and that would be both on the revenue side and the expenditure side. So she's going to be reviewing it in the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping before the next one, but I'm asking not to approve it unless there's questions about the grant item that's in here. I needed the auditor to review it.
Okay. Any questions for Cameron today, or can we chat again in 2 weeks, folks? Good? Okay. Enhanced 911.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I just had a thought, when we were talking about the capital funding, did we go through the requests from the fairgrounds? Wouldn't that be under capital funding?
You did, and no, you did not.
I looked up and I saw paper and I'm like, wait a minute.
Sorry.
Didn't. Okay. All right. Back to the fairgrounds tab.
Sorry, I looked at my agenda and I thought, well, maybe it's, yeah, sorry.
Madam Chair, so the two motions that we already had for that, the second motion is not included everything else left in the budget. But we're gonna go back now and look at
Because
fairgrounds.
The only thing that was in the fairgrounds item was Mike's building.
So none of the items that Kimber's wanted to discuss is in that spreadsheet with capital at this time. So if they approve something right now, we would have to add it into the capital spreadsheet.
Okay, it's not in there yet.
It's not.
Thank you. Okay, I'm good.
So Kimber Solberg, Fairgrounds Director. I was able to get a hold of one of the floor companies. And his is still a 1-year warranty, which not real thrilled about. But the other floor company, as I read through their paperwork, this is platinum floor resolution. Total bid was, at the time, was $73,000. And if I had my glasses, it'd be easier, but it does say it has a 10-year warranty on it. So it is a better warranty. So again, I'm gonna say, like some folks, until we actually go out officially for a bid, we won't have those exact numbers, but these are based on what we had at the time.
So I guess I'm wondering when we might want to pull the trigger on getting this building up and pulling it out of our economic development.
I think we've been
Bucket.
waiting, Madam Chair. We've been waiting very impatiently, I might add, waiting.
You're ready then?
Been ready for a while.
Madam Chair, we have, as a board, has never seen an official document that says what is the actual cost to erect the building.
That is correct. And I will ask Brittany Garzalka, the building committee lead, to speak to that. It is a work in progress. We are progressing on it, and I'm gonna let Brittany address those questions.
All right, due to the county requirements, we have been in the RFQ phase. So we put the request for qualifications out. It's probably been 2 months now, in which we did work with 2 architecture firms on what they had submitted. We did select a RET design group for really phase 1 of this, and the request for qualifications phase really is, they have went through the design of the fairgrounds. They have went through the pedestrian paths, the walking paths, the utilities, and we have tried to determine what we feel is a floor plan that best utilizes the space of the building and a location. Because it is an RFQ phase, of course, we cannot go to bid for this project. So a RET has had an in-house estimator provide us with a cost. Mind you, we cannot go to bid until the next phase has been met, and we will not be going to bid unless we can be considered for the economic development funds. Because the funding piece of this project is going to require more than just what the fairgrounds has contributed to the building purchase, and more than just what the economic funds would provide for us. We will have to look for additional funding through match grants, etc. So the estimator bid at this time, they have put as a worst case scenario, it is $6 million. We have not talked to any contractors until we can get through the RFQ phase of this. And of course, like I say, we cannot proceed cart ahead of the horse. We cannot go to bid until we have been able to talk about the economic development impact of this project. The building as the design stands today, the interior space of the 75 by 200 has been left fully open with a mechanical mezzanine on the second floor on the south end to make sure that that space can be very functional and very multi-purpose. The exterior of the building has an add-on that would house the required restroom facilities, a concession area, a little atrium, a kitchen, and the storage components so that the tables and chairs and all of the functionality of the building would be easily reached. But again, this has been put into an addition because we all know from the exhibit hall as it stands today, every time we've added a room or a bathroom on the interior, the shape gets longer, it gets narrower, and it gets less multifunctional. And so again, through this RFQ phase, we do have a design that we would love to visit with you guys about. I know it had been mentioned that that needs to be a separate meeting and not part of the request today. And we're more than happy to schedule that at any time. A RET would also be very much a part of that meeting and making that proposal so that we can get it out there of where we're at.
So maybe this funding, when the timing's right, you're ready to go out to bid, would be used as a match for other grants to get you to that 6 million.
Correct.
Got it.
And of course, the builder that is part of the estimator, because we cannot seek one at this time, he is a hiring builder. And so we know that multiple bids in the future is going to be very, very useful. I know of the building out in Bighorn and some of the cost and the dimensions of that project and what it's going to be used for. And it's only $800,000 more than what our bid came in at. And it's a fully functional gym, locker room, classrooms. I mean, it's a fully finished building. What we have is we have a large amount of fixed costs. You put a 75 by 200 building up, there is an erection cost that is fixed. There is a concrete cost that is fixed. The addition piece of it adds a little concrete and a little exterior material. But the reality of it, all the mechanical systems that we're proposing into that addition are going to have a fixed cost, whether they're on the outside of the building or they're inside. We're just hoping that from a community aspect, if we don't start chopping it up to shove everything inside, we have a more multifunctional space and we optimize the amount of square footage that the building can provide.
Yeah.
We know the exhibit hall doesn't have the largest square footage footprint in town for community type space. A Holiday Inn also has a limited space. Best Western has a limited space. And so we don't want to, I guess, repeat what kind of is available in the community. We want this to be as big and open as possible, multifunction.
Sorry, Lonnie, we're putting a pin in it again. Thank you for the update though.
Yes. So whenever you guys, I guess, let us know how you would like to schedule that meeting.
I'll just call it a study session
and we will
Yeah.
love to get that scheduled with the RET as well.
Okay. Great, that sounds good. We'll take you up on that. Okay, well, let's just start at the top, then, the permanent restroom facilities. It makes sense to me. That building sounds like it's a couple years down the road.
Madam Chair, I believe we ought to wait to do it with the building rather than allocate it as a separate thing, truthfully. I mean, we can use portable toilets during the county fair until we get this building built, I really believe.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, I'll just move down the line. Lighting?
Madam Chair, same thing with the livestock barn, electrical upgrades.
Okay,
Tie that in with the
with the building?
75 by 200.
Okay. So main area lighting. For 250,000.
That's the main arena lighting for the grandstands and Arena One. That came back from that Musco lighting. When the RFP for this were to go out, it may be, depending on how it's written, they may be one of the only ones that qualify because they do offer a 25-year warranty.
Gotcha.
So it may pinhole it,
Yeah.
depending on how that RFP is written. And we can certainly get information from the high school as to their satisfaction.
That's who did the high school football field.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, multi-purpose. It's not just football. I realize they play soccer,
Yes.
soccer and track and lacrosse and whatever also there too.
I have a question. Madam
Yeah.
Chair. This requires some additional wiring to MDU, is that right? Or how's this,
It
how's it
uses,
gonna get this power?
it uses the existing wire that's there. It just replaces those wooden poles. I think, I talked about those poles, the age of those with the metal component pieces. The LED lights are at the tippy top. We would save on some potential lift rental because the mechanism where you work on anything with the lights is at a 10-foot height on those light poles. So they said you should never have to go up anyway. And it comes with that 25-year warranty, so they stand behind that product. So yeah, it's the poles and the lights themselves.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Kimber, would the poles be in the same place as the existing wooden poles?
I'm assuming that they would be close. Just
I can think of a couple of them I'd like to see gone.
No kidding.
We'll put you on that committee. The other piece of it is what I've been told is that once we get a design of where you want the poles, then they go in and I'll say use a drone, maybe it's a satellite, but they go in and they use sophistication to figure out so there's not the shadows and the dark spots in the arena that would be really well lit. So, but yeah, if there's something that's concerning to anybody, it would be the time to say that we really don't want the pole here. We'd like it 20 feet this
The
way or.
one between the headers box and the track on the south side of the
Okay.
that huge pole right there, that's the one that, and I mean, it's very feasible that when, with that, the gold buckle seat or something might be able to move. That is in the way of everything, that huge pole right there.
So if this is approved, then one of the things that we could talk about in the RFP process is the exact location of the poles. And certainly would love that
I
input.
assume that's what you were thinking of.
Yeah,
too,
leave
Nikki,
that,
right?
clear coat it so we can see through it.
That's what I always wanted to do, yeah.
I'm just looking for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the amount for the main arena lighting.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion?
Madam Chair, I just have one more question about the lighting. Is this gonna tie into that, in case we have a power outage, it's gonna go right into, you have a proposed generator system that you want to upgrade to create for safety?
Yeah, no, this is a whole separate system.
This
Yeah.
doesn't tie into that at
It
all.
really doesn't. Now it may, I'm gonna say, I can check into that, but I'm gonna say no. They're two separate systems. One's for grandstand pedestrian fans and the other is for actual on the arena floor.
Thank you.
Madam Chair. Kimber, Fair Board, I really appreciate what you're doing. I understand that you are very much trying to bring this fairgrounds. I mean, it's been kind of left for a lot of years. But as I look at the budget, I mean, we're already at a deficit and we're talking about adding another $250,000. That's a lot. And, you know, as much as I'd like to do this, I can't continue to add more deficit on something like this. But I appreciate what you guys are doing.
And let me just try to turn your mind, is if it's $250,000 today, it's gonna be more expensive tomorrow. And if this has a 25-year warranty, it's, when you break it down by year, it's much less expensive to process. In my brain.
Madam
I
Chair,
agree.
also, sorry,
No.
Madam Chair, also these LED lights probably use a lot less electricity. Commissioner. Same.
I will push back a little bit on that because we only use them a certain time of the year for a couple of weeks. So
Oh, I disagree with that. It used a lot.
Any other discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Duff, is this something that could also be funded out of the general fund equity cash that we have extra revenues in right now?
Madam Chair, yes, that's correct.
All right,
Would, Madam Chair, would that take an amendment then to move it to that, or can we? How would that?
yeah, probably.
So moved then.
Okay. Got a motion in a second.
So Madam Chair, will we have the motion and the second on the lighting? To move it to that? Could we? I would amend, so you made an amendment, right? I'll keep you in track here. The floor that you're proposing, is that the $37,000 floor?
That's the first payment of that. No, it's actually
It's different.
the
Still the fairgrounds.
The floor, the one with the 10-year warranty, and I'd have to get an updated proposal for this, came in at $73,080.
So we maybe better do that as a separate motion.
Oh, and it's.
We can do it either way,
Or it's an
probably.
old
Let's do it as a separate one.
Separate one, okay.
It's an
All right.
old proposal.
All right.
Okay, all right. We've got the main arena lighting and we have an amended motion to pull it out of the general fund. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
All right, vendor pedestals.
That was the amendment.
Oh, sorry, I
Motion.
skipped one. All right, the first one.
To approve the.
Yeah, you're right.
Lighting.
Yes,
As amended.
As,
As amended.
as amended. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I was confused. I did not know which one we were voting on. Was listening.
It was the original, well, it was the,
You voted on the amendment to move the
from where it
funding
comes from and then to
funding
actually
to the
approve.
general-
the-
Yeah,
Because we had that motion in second sitting out there that we needed to take care of, the original one.
Good.
I know, and then Nick's trying to add another
so
one.
now you're voting on the motion as amended.
And we
The
just
motion
did.
as amended. Okay, so I voted no on the first one. I'll just vote no on this one because
Okay.
I'm confused as all get out.
So,
Always a
Madam
no
Chair-
on both of those.
Okay, so Madam Chair, I have the original motion for $250,000 for the main area lighting by Lonnie Wright with a second, then an amendment to fund it from general equity, and I apologize, I didn't get who made that amendment.
Mike,
I did.
Thank you, Mike.
And I
Voted
seconded it.
on. Okay, yes, and so I've got 4-1 motion on the amendment, and then 4-1 back to the original motion as amended.
yes.
Correct.
And the only thing, it's main arena, not area, if that
Thank you.
matters. You're welcome.
All right, vendor pedestals.
These are the pedestals that are behind the grandstands where the vendors plug in for various events. And it would be an upgrade to those pedestals for the, I'll say, commercial vendors, whether it's a food truck or a services goods truck, to be able to have the adequate power for events.
Questions on that one?
Yeah, Madam Chair. For the vendors, currently, is it just black power or is there issue with,
It's power.
just not
Yes.
power?
And Madam Chair, just so, because I've been involved in this before, we have people that are up there having to run generators or whatever. They create a lot of noise and a lot of odor and take up space and I think are also a danger for if kids were to get around them and so on and so forth, that it's a safety issue as well.
Is that a motion?
So I so move that we replace the pedestals for, is that $31,300?
Thank you for clarifying the amount, and Chair. Thank you. 31,000 what?
31,300 if I'm reading the bid right, is that correct?
Sorry, I'm flipping.
Estimate, but she'd still
Might
have
still
to
like
go out,
yours,
right?
yeah.
Now this, I'm gonna say this has not gone out for a bid. So if we have to send out the RFP, it's just an
Okay.
estimate.
So we'll use the 31,300 as a placeholder and it goes out to bid.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay?
we have a motion?
I'll second that.
And a second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Exhibit hall floor. For 75,000, we talked about this. Kimber did hear that one of the companies for the 73,000 had a 10-year warranty. Of course, that's an estimate. She'll have to go out to bid.
Yes.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Lana.
Mr. Wright, would you like to so move that we take that out of that general fund money, or do you want to leave it in the capital expenditure fund?
I would move that we approve the 75,000. Whatever, is it 73 or 75?
73 was one of the quotes.
Let's do 75.
I move that we approve the $75,000 price and have it come out of the general fund.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, just a point of clarification, even though you're making a motion for 75,000, when the bills come in, they come in through the county, we pay it exactly what it comes in. So this is just a threshold. It does not transfer 75,000 over to the fairground.
That works. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
And then we'll set another meeting for the buildings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get with Kelly and find a date that works for all of us and connect with you guys and maybe just throw you a couple days and times and see what sticks. Cool.
Thanks,
Kimber.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Enhanced 911 services.
Madam Chair. The law enforcement joint powers board and the ED 911 committee will be meeting in June to finalize their budget. This is what has gone through Chief Poltiska. At this point, it is just a placeholder as a proposed budget, so I'm asking not for any approval at this time.
Okay. Any questions while we're looking at it? Nope. Okay. Administration.
Madam Chair, not much change in dollar amounts for some of the services and supplies and administration. Everything that was in here from before with HR was transferred over to the BOCC budget, as I mentioned yesterday. So unless there's questions, I will repeat that overall between the BOCC and the admin, our budgets dropped by about 2,000.
Cameron, did we get the, sorry, I'm trying to find it. The JPA funding in this, the 60 or 70,000 that Mark was estimating that would take?
We did not.
I guess that would be the only thing.
Just for 1 second.
Yeah. Excuse me.
I believe I had it as a placeholder in GPET and it didn't get through. So at this point, no, there isn't funding anywhere for GPET.
Okay.
Right.
Do auditors care where we put it?
Auditors may not care, but I know the budget officer will. It needs to be somewhere.
I don't know, either, do you have a preference if it's in the administration budget or in the GPET?
We didn't, if we want to go back to the GPAD and add it, we sure could.
Yeah.
But we've already had a prior board meeting that voted, right, all the
Yeah.
GPAD stuff. So possibly you want it in this budget, Mr. Duff, I'm not sure, but I do have to note where it's going.
I'm concerned about the GPET just because not positive on the revenues. We only had 40,000 contingency and this could be closer to 120. So I'd be cautious about putting it into GPET. So if you're not wanting an admin, I think the only other one you could do is possibly capital, but that's not really a capital expense. So this probably would be the best place.
Clint, did you have a comment?
Just that we have had the GPET meeting and we went through all that. None of that is final because it has to be incorporated into the final budget, so.
Okay, my
it's not-
apologies.
It's not carved in stone. at
We
this
did
point.
not vote on that, so we can go back and vote on that during this meeting. Mr. Beaver, when you were out, so I took the prior board action to be the same as the prior board action on the elected officials resolution that we've already done, that was already board action. But we can go back, absolutely, and clarify the GPET.
Well, any action that the
We
board
did.
takes, they can amend up until what, July
Sure,
15th
yes.
or something.
That's true, that's true.
It's,
It can be amended right up until adoption, so then I would recommend we go back to GPET and adopt it as presented, and then the board consider adopting it as presented, and then we clarify again what exactly this additional request is for. If somebody could summarize that one more time, what it's for and the amount, and
Let's-
to add that to admin.
Okay, let's go back to GPET, and I would look for a motion to approve those line items as we had voted on May 5th.
So moved.
Your motion, do you have a second?
Second.
And a second, any discussion? Commissioner Jennings?
I'll be in on this because I voted, a lot of those are constitutional, so. I'll be in.
Good. All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now back to admin. And the thing we were talking about was the joint planning area plan update. If you guys recall, we approved a memorandum of agreement with the city that they would be the lead contractor. With us on board, we would pay 1/3 of the cost of that plan update, and the city would cover the other 2/3. Mark Reed, those negotiations with the consultants are not done, but Mark's estimate when he came to us the other day was $60,000 to $70,000.
Madam Chair, that 60 to 70 is the county portion, correct?
The county portion.
Madam Chair, you have two options. You can do admin, you can also put it into public works to more reflect the idea that it's. And I would probably put it under either contract labor or some sort of miscellaneous. I'm not sure the category that would best
I
fit.
think Mark had just said that last time it was in the commissioner's budget.
It was in the
So,
commissioners.
that was before my time, so.
Then I would recommend just putting in contract labor.
Okay. I would look for a motion to add 70,000 to contract labor.
Is this in the admin budget?
To the
Yes.
commissioner's budget or the admin
Commissioners.
budget?
What?
Yeah.
Because I'm confused.
Yeah. So if you want it under the commissioners, it has not been approved. It can just be placed in there for right now.
Okay.
Sorry,
So
not trying
Sorry.
to confuse this.
do we
Yeah.
need to make a motion for that, or it just goes into commissioners?
And then we'll approve it
And
in
then
2
we'll approve
weeks.
it later.
Yeah.
Or
That works for
discuss
me.
it in 2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to admin. Any other questions for Cameron? Kind of gave us the high level there.
So I move to approve the admin budget without benefits and salaries.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. All right. Health benefit plan.
Madam Chair, I stepped out of the meeting yesterday to meet with our health plan representative, and I had already told you it was finalized, but that was the official meeting to make it finalized. So all the numbers in here are will not change. It results in a 5% increase for premiums. If you approve this budget with that 5% increase, then HR will send out the final premiums amounts to staff. It's already been sent to the clerk's office, but we're talking about staff to see what their ratios will be. I have nothing else.
Any questions for Cameron on that? It is what it is. Happy it's
Happy it's only 5%.
5%. Yeah.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the health benefit plan requested budget.
Motion, do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in
Chair, I just wanted to clarify, this is coming out of the health fund budget, health benefit plan, health budget, correct? But we're not, does this include a determination if the 5% is then paid by the board or the employee, or am I getting ahead of myself?
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Good point. The 5% increase is the overall premium, and it's already established that it's an 80-20 split. If you take the blood draw, it ends up being an 18-82 split. So that part has been set. It doesn't change. So this is just saying what the premium increase would be and what the dollar amounts anticipated for expenditure claims are.
Thank you. Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. With that, we are adjourned at 12:14.